Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I am Jeremy Lambert. That is Stephen Jensen. It is November 2nd, and shout out as always to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. Jensen, how you doing on this Thursday? This beautiful, I assume, I don't know if it's beautiful up in your parts, but this Thursday morning.
Seems pretty nice outside so far today. Nice and early here on Thursday. Hope everybody who's here is having a good day. Joining us nice and early, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. The show will probably be moving to 8:30 going forward pretty soon for everybody, just so y'all know who like to watch us live. I know most of our viewership comes from like people watching afterwards, especially since we're so early in the morning. But we really appreciate the people who come here and are in the chat live very much. But yeah, I'm looking forward to today, dude. Got a long work day coming up after this, working overtime. So it'll be a long day for me, but I'm looking forward to talking about wrestling with you today. And we got some good stuff to talk about. Maggie's even here in the chat this morning, super early. Hey, Maggie.
Maggie is the one who is awake. Bless her. Bless Maggie. Everyone watch Coexisting. Fridays, 3 p.m. Eastern on FightfulOverbooked.com. Go over there. Go check out all the stuff we have going on over there.
I like seeing people in the chat that are saying they're like Jeff Valley Driver starts work at 7 a.m. He said in the chat. So yeah, this is awesome. I'm glad that some of y'all are like up super early and like maybe you're working or you got time to kill or something. Or Maggie, in her case, it's 2:30 p.m. where she lives. So yeah, I hope y'all don't mind the time change too much. It's simply because of my work schedule is going to change a little bit soon, which will make it a little easier for myself and for Jeremy. When you pull the curtain back a little bit, it'll give us a little more time for like interviews that we record and stuff like that too. So overall, it'll be a good move once this happens for a lot of reasons. But yeah, I just want to give you all a heads up about that because that'll probably happen sometime within like the next month. We'll permanently switch to this time slot. Excuse me, but yeah, we had a pretty good show today, but maybe a little bit different of a show because we're going to talk some different topics that maybe we normally wouldn't talk here on the show. Yeah, I don't know, Jeremy, where do you want to start? Or if you got anything you want to talk about beforehand? I went to the Hawks game already. My brother's already been to 2 games. Like I'm getting into the season here, so. We got NBA's back. Kirk Cousins is hurt. That's awful. Don't want to talk about that too much. But the Vikings are still in the mix for the playoffs potentially, depending on how Jaren Hall or Josh Dobbs play. So yeah, how you doing, man?
I'm well. I'm tired. I've been on medication for the last week, so my sleep schedule's all messed up, and that's about that.
Yeah, no, I can tell you look tired, but I know you got a ton going on in your personal life and your work life here. So I'm just happy that we're able to find an hour a week to be able to do our show here on Fightful. So I'm glad that we're here right now. I'm happy. I'm pretty awake for it being a Thursday this early.
You are way more awake than I am. Way more awake than I am. Yes, Maggie says, everyone leave a like on the video, leave a thumbs up, everybody, and send us a bunch of super chat money. I'm very bad at promoting that. That's what Joel Pearl does on In the Weeds. He's good at doing the promotion. I'm bad. But leave a thumbs up on the video if you're watching live or on demand. And if you're here live, I don't know, give us some money that we won't see, but give us all the money, please.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We'll obviously we'll make sure to put your question, your statement, all that stuff up on the screen, and we'll read it out. And we also have the Humper chats. So I don't know if you're ever monitoring that during the show or not, but I
don't know if that thing exists anymore.
Oh, really? I don't. That's how up to date I am with everything. But we'll.
I think it does. I don't check it very often because if we don't promote it very often, I do need some NWA cocaine.
Yeah,
I have my coffee
about that on the show.
Yeah, I have my coffee. I do have my G Fuel around here somewhere. It's over back in the corner over there.
Oh, nice. Did Vinny send you some G Fuel?
Yeah, Vinny got the hookup with the G Fuel.
I gotta hit him up for some G Fuel.
I've known
about G Fuel for a long time because like the the gamer space. Like they would always
Right.
sponsor like Twitch streamers and YouTubers and stuff, like back when like most other people wouldn't really sponsor like those kind of content creators. Yeah, awesome for Vinny. Shout out to Vinny Pacifico, out there killing it, doing a great job promoting himself.
It's good stuff too. Actually, I tried some on air yesterday. I tried the PewDiePie one, which is like black cherry. It's really good. Yeah.
Okay.
So
shout out PewDiePie, as if he needs our shout out with over 100 million subscribers on YouTube.
yeah, can he shout us out?
Yeah,
That'd be
right.
cool. All right. Let's get into Ashok said he had the watermelon G Fuel. There you go. I think I have one of those. I don't know. I'll have to check. I got like the big variety pack is what this is. So let's get into the WWE spotlight here, Jensen.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
You know what story's gonna finish on Saturday? Yeah, new undisputed WWE Universal Champion. With everybody saying, say it with me, Jensen. Come on, Jensen. L.A. Knight. Yeah.
Whatever he does with his hands.
I'm talking myself into an LA Knight victory. I'm really talking myself into it.
Oh man. So I watched I want to make sure I got my timeline right here. So
SmackDown?
I'm pretty sure I watched SmackDown this segment. I think they did a contract signing, right? This past Friday. Yeah, I did watch that. So man, what I should have done, I really blew it this week. What I should have done is I should have watched that segment and actually taken notes, because while I was watching it, because I watched it on Friday, actually, I watched it live for whatever reason. I rarely ever watch SmackDown. For whatever reason, I did watch that segment live, or maybe it was on like Twitter right afterwards or something, but I saw it on Friday night while people were still talking about it. And like, anyway, there were certain things that he was doing, and I was like, turning to my brother, I was like, yep, that's Steve Austin. Yep, that's The Rock. Yep, that's blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, I didn't realize how good he was at stomping mud holes in people. Like, did you see, like, he puts people in the corner, he literally does the stomp.
He's got the Timbs on too. He's got the Timbs on.
Right. And then I turned to my brother, because I didn't even realize that LA Knight was doing this. I turned to my brother and I said, he's gonna stop and he'll do one extra. He's gonna stop and do one extra. And he lo and behold, turned around, like walked to the other corner, came back around, hit him with another one. I was like, okay, but it's working. I can't sit here and like rip the guy every week when it's working. Like, the fans love it. He's getting big reactions.
You're trying to rip him every week.
Well, I could. There are things I could definitely rip, but like, it's stuff you've already heard me talk about enough times that, like, I don't think that. Look, just because the guy is like, here's big sexy Kevin Nash. Okay, the man. I think we can all unanimously agree that Kevin Nash is cool. Okay, so Kevin Nash, if you want to listen to like somebody besides me saying the stuff that I'm saying, just listen to Kevin Nash, because he's like saying the same exact stuff I am. It makes me feel way less crazy when somebody who like has been successful in the wrestling business at a high level for a long time, like, they're saying the same stuff I am. Like, it doesn't mean a lot with me saying that. It just sounds like I'm a hater. For him, he's got the same exact points I do, and I've heard other people saying the same stuff too. Not that Kevin Nash is like the be all end all of like wrestling knowledge or discussion or whatever, but it was good to hear him say. Now, granted, we do follow each other on Twitter, and I have no idea if he's ever seen anything that I've said about LA Knight, but a lot of it happens after I say it. I'll throw that out there too. A lot of stuff that I'm saying is being said afterwards by Kevin Nash. Not that he's stealing it from me. I doubt he would. I highly doubt that's happening. I'm just saying,
watching.
I'm trying to put ourselves over here, Jeremy.
I know.
I know he's not sitting around watching our show. My point is, though, like, a lot of the time I'll say something on this show about LA Knight, and the exact same thing will be said by Kevin Nash, like, that next show. And my point is, it's consistent. We're both saying the same stuff. Anyways, going into Crown Jewel, I think that LA Knight's going to get a massive pop from the crowd, but I think Roman Reigns also will, because like they love him there too, right? So like, it's going to be interesting, I think, with your reactions, because them seeing Roman Reigns, or really anyone seeing Roman Reigns at this point, he's like such an attraction, because he's like not there wrestling hardly at all anymore, but he's the champion for over 1,100 days or whatever.
It's almost 1,200 days now.
Yeah. So, I mean, so it'll be a spectacle. And I think that the WWE has done a really good job. And this is where like people can rip me also for this. And it'd be fair. It'd be fair for them to do, because you can make this comparison about Cody in a lot of ways as well. I think the WWE has done a really good job of making the fan base really believe that LA Knight has a chance. Whether or not they fully believe he's going to beat Roman Reigns or not, I think the WWE has done a really good job of like building some contenders for Roman. Like they did a great job with Sami Zayn. A lot of that was organic, but like they did a great job making the fans feel like, okay, this is the moment. This guy actually has a chance. This will be the guy to dethrone Roman. They did a really good job with Cody as well, getting people to feel that way. They did a pretty good job with Drew when they went to like went to the UK and stuff like that. And so but once again, my point with all of this is with LA Knight, they've done it as well, where like the fans are very behind LA Knight, and a lot of them feel like this is the moment. Like if you're gonna pull the trigger, why not do it now? It's Saudi Arabia. It's this humongous stadium show. Vince McMahon just said during the Fury and Ngannou fight, he was there live with Undertaker and he did some interviews, and he said that that's their new home over there. Like that's the home of the WWE as far as they're concerned now. So like,
and Vince McMahon's he's saying whatever,
but they're on the record saying that. Like Vince said,
Vince is on the record about saying a lot of things you put a microphone in his face, and he's about 80 years old.
I don't disagree with you about that. I'm just saying like that I think is a lot of their mindset is like, this is similar to, I don't know the name of the league, but I know like professional golf. Like, it isn't called the PGA, but they have like a new league over there in Saudi.
Well, they merge. They merge with the PGA. Like they're not separate leagues anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably from what I heard, they were giving like golfers like massive money, like veteran golfers, massive money to go over there, and the PGA like couldn't afford to let them not a part of the PGA anymore, so they probably had to figure something out to allow them to play in both. So like, anyway, once again, my point is, it isn't just the WWE over in Saudi Arabia making these kind of moves. We see the UFC, and obviously they're all in the same company now with TKO. I know I'm rambling now, but really my overall point with all of this is there are a lot of things that point in the direction of, hey, maybe LA Knight could win this thing in Saudi Arabia at Crown Jewel. And the fans would absolutely love it, and it'd be a huge crowning moment of their next champion in LA Knight. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Roman Reigns, if Roman Reigns is going to lose this title anytime soon, it won't happen until a WrestleMania. And I'm honestly not even completely convinced it'll happen to this WrestleMania still. So like, that's where I'm at with it. I personally think LA Knight has no chance of winning this, but I think that there are a lot of fans that do believe that LA Knight's got a shot. And I think that's where WWE's done a good job with this. And LA Knight, to his credit, has done a good job getting himself over and staying over this whole time.
They've done a great job building up LA Knight. And like you said, like they did it with Drew. I didn't buy Drew as having a real shot until like the day of the show. And then especially like when Drew's making his entrance and the crowd's going crazy and stuff, I was like, oh man, you kind of got to make this switch here. Like, I didn't think they were at the time, but I would understood if they did. Sammy, I honestly thought Sammy should have won. Like, I still kind of maintain that stance that Sammy should have won at Elimination Chamber. Cody should have won at WrestleMania. Jay is even another one. They did a great job building him up. And then I understood why they didn't have him win, but I would have understood if he did win. And it's going to be the same thing with LA Knight. They've done a great job building him up. He's probably not going to win. I'm as much as I'm trying to push Jensen here, and as much as I would like to see LA Knight win because he has done a great job, and they have done a great job with him building up, I don't think he's going to win. I don't think Roman loses until WrestleMania at the earliest, and then kind of with Jensen, I don't even know if it's going to happen then. Like, I don't know when this Roman Reigns run is going to end, because it doesn't look like it's close to ending. Bottom of the third, maybe top of the fourth right now, maybe top of the fourth, but it doesn't look like it's close to ending anytime soon. And I wouldn't be shocked if, it does go past this WrestleMania. I do think this WrestleMania should probably be the end point, but I don't know. I don't know if they see it the same way, or if Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns see it the same way. When it comes to LA Knight, I'd have him win. Honestly, I would. Roman's not working Survivor Series. It doesn't look like he's not being advertised or anything. They haven't. if they have something for Roman at Survivor Series, they're going to have to do it in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because the show's at the end of the month. And after LA Night, there ain't no real challenger built for him. I don't know if Roman's going to be working TV leading up to it. So he's going to come back. He's going to do something at the Rumble. And then I assume you're going to run into Cody at WrestleMania. I don't know. I would just make the switch. Go with LA Knight. You got to make somebody, and LA Knight is making somebody. And you deliver a good moment for the fans. I don't think Saudi's the place to do it. I think that's the one drawback is I don't think Saudi's the place to do this big Roman Reigns loss. I think that's kind of weak. Like it should probably be at a WrestleMania. With the way this reign has gone, it feels like WrestleMania is where you got to end it, not Saudi Arabia. But quit being cowards. Just put the belt on LA Knight. Yeah.
No, I'm not about that idea. Although once again, the crowd would absolutely go insane for it. Twitter would blow up, wrestling media and everything. I mean, it'd be like the biggest thing that happened in a really long time in wrestling. Now I've said this before on the show, but I don't know how long this would take. But honestly, if Roman gets through this WrestleMania with the title, I'm not exaggerating. I'd have him beat Bruno's reign. He's already part-time, and I would just have him hold that title past whatever. I know it's still years out, but like at this point, like no one else in our lifetime is going to have a run this long probably with this title. And like, this is, I've said it 1,000 times, like WWE is in this mode right now of like rewriting history, and with like the merger and everything, like I just feel like if they're going to have someone new in the record books as their new Bruno, as their new title reign champion, like it would be Roman Reigns, this guy that they've, for the last decade, that they've tried to make this guy. And he finally is that guy. You know, it just took a long time for him to get there. But here's the thing. Obviously, ultimately, I want Cody to win the title at WrestleMania 40. But if there's going to be something where like The Rock's coming in, and they're going to definitely do The Rock and Roman if it's available. There's no guarantee that Roman will work 2-night WrestleMania. You know, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of what ifs. And if Cody gets boxed out of that, and if I would imagine Roman would beat The Rock, because it would be super counterproductive to have The Rock come in here and be the one to dethrone Roman after all this. Although the story kind of calls for it for the bloodline, if like The Rock comes in and kind of saves the family, if that's the story. But once again, you don't need the title at all for that part of the story. Like the title would really just convolute things. So like. But once again, my point with this is if he gets past Cody at this WrestleMania, you might be looking it up right now. How long would he have before he passes Roman? Before Bruno.
Bruno held it for 2,800 days.
2,800, and Roman's at like 1,200.
Yeah, it's
dude, it's doable though. With Roman only working, like only wrestling like a handful of times a year, like they could easily do that if Roman wanted to do that, wanted to keep re-signing and stayed healthy enough to just work some matches. Basically, that's what Brock's schedule has been since he returned. He like barely, and they put the title on him for a long stretch of the time, not like this, but like, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like I feel like the option's there, and I guarantee you that idea has been floated with the powers that be of like, we're already this deep into this.
It ain't doable. May 3rd, 2028. Ain't keeping the belt on until 2028.
You're probably right.
That just.
But honestly, if it was like 3 more years, I think it would be doable. I'm not even kidding, because it's been anyway. The other side of this too is, how do you keep this interesting? The bloodline story and all this can only go for so long before. But once again, dude, they got all these family members. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but like, there's more bloodline family available now to come into the WWE to like keep this story going if they wanted to. Maybe not for another 5 years, but hey, dude, their kids are going to grow up, and then you'll have more bloodline. I'm sure there's bloodline teenagers that'll be bloodline young adults within that next 5 years that you can bring in.
Roman's got about 6 kids just by himself. So.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, once again, y'all know at this point, I sound like a broken record, but y'all know I want Cody to win the title at WrestleMania 40. I think he should have done it at WrestleMania 39. I think we should be in the middle of a Cody Rhodes title reign right now. I think everything Cody did since WrestleMania should have all just been with the title on the line. It would have made a lot more sense. But
well, Cody's hurt again. Cody's got a busted ankle now. He's got to overcome that ankle injury against Damian Priest.
Yeah, and that's coming up in Crown Jewel. So
Cody should lose that match.
Yeah, I disagree with that. But the thing is, like, here's the thing. Depending on how you look at this, right? Like, I'm not a fan of the Money in the Bank briefcase holder just being like a loser over and over and over again to become the champion. Like, but that's how historically they've really presented that whole scenario or whatever. Like, even WrestleMania 31, when Seth Rollins won the title, everyone remembers he won, made it a triple threat match, pinned Roman, incredible WrestleMania moment. And also an incredible WrestleMania moment earlier in the night was him taking that sweet RKO from Randy Orton, and he lost that match clean, 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. Later that night, he's the world champion. So, like, now in that particular scenario, I think that was done as kind of like a red herring, like just you didn't think that Rollins was going to be coming in cash.
But they do the Money in the Bank is a loser up until he cashes in every single time.
You're right. So, but I guess that's kind of my mindset is like, I would personally, I know if it was anyone but Cody, of course, but I mean, come on, let's go. But if it was anyone else, I'd be like, Damian needs to get some W's here. Because also part of this with Damian too, to me, is I think his like crowning kind of achievement in the WWE is losing to Bad Bunny. The match was awesome. The moment was awesome. The entrance for Bad Bunny was like one of the coolest things I've ever seen. That show, we're not giving that show enough credit because we have such what do you call that?
That's because the main event wasn't very good.
Oh, because they weren't the main event, were they? Bad Bunny and Damian. Who was the main event that show?
Flat finish. No one really cared.
I legitimately don't remember who, because that was such a good match between Bad Bunny and Damian. Then it was like, hold on, who did main event that show?
I'm not going to tell you because it's funnier.
Because was it Cody? What show is this? Hold on. Now I'm okay. It was in that overall show was incredible. Like that, the fans. Who the hell was it Cody versus Brock?
Yeah,
that's right. But that was the rematch. Their first match was.
No.
Was that their first match? Was that the one where Cody pinned him with the Kimura?
Yeah.
That was the one that I talked about Aaron Mercer with.
Yeah.
I completely forgot. Why did that main event and that should have been Bad Bunny and Damian main eventing that show? I don't know why that didn't main event that show. And I'm obviously a Cody guy. I completely forgot.
Yeah, main event was bad. Flat finish.
And that was the one where he was like hitting him with like the cast over and over again, right? And that was legal for some reason. Yeah, that wasn't good. But anyway, once again, bringing that show up, I remember Damian Priest losing to Bad Bunny. Even then, like, and Bad Bunny's not even a full-time wrestler. Granted, Bad Bunny should have won that match. I'm not discrediting that at all. But I view Damian Priest as kind of just like a loser. Like, pretty much every time I watch him on the show, he's losing. But he looks great. I liked him as Punishment Martinez on the Indies. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's got a ton of talent. He's got a great look, and like he fits the WWE and what they wanted a superstar. I think great, and he opens up that Latino market even more with what they're doing over there. And so, I mean, so I think he's a great guy to push and to go with. But I mean, do you think there's any chance he's kind of like? I was gonna say, do you think he's gonna ever even like cash in successfully? Like, do you think
I kind of think he might. I kind of think he might cash in on Saturday after Seth beats Drew.
I was thinking that was possible as well. I think that's because I don't know how much legitimacy there is to Rollins and needing time off for his back and stuff. But like, if there's real truth to that, like they're going to have to take the title off him sooner than later, right?
I mean, his back has been messed up since like for a while now. He just keeps wrestling because clearly it's not bad enough to where he needs to take full time off to stop wrestling. So, but I just think they're going to at some point cash in with Damian. I think Saturday makes the most sense because he's probably going to lose to Cody. I think that match is on the pre-show, by the way. So tune in early, Stephen Jensen, to watch Cody pre-show it up, curtain jerk it. And then Damian Priest cashes in afterwards.
I think it's possible. I mean, yeah, honestly, whatever they do with that Seth Rollins world title, unfortunately, just doesn't really mean much to me still. Like, I think he's done okay with the belt. I love Shinsuke Nakamura. So, like, I love that he's gotten, like, a feud for the title recently and stuff. And I feel like they've really, like, turned the corner with him and his presentation as a heel and stuff. So it's not like it's been, like, a wasted, thing. But whether it's McIntyre, Rollins, or Priest, kind of the kind of thing in the back of my mind, in the back of probably a lot of fans' minds, is like, well, like, Cody's not even challenging for this thing. Is it like it's weird when you have a guy like Cody Rhodes on your show, right? Who beats Brock Lesnar in this feud, and he's clearly concerned with Roman in that championship. You know what I mean? So it just I just feel like they never needed this title that Rollins has to begin with. So it's just I honestly don't even care who's holding the title. If Cody wanted, it'd be cool if he consolidated that and, like, had, like, a big unification thing with Roman with all the titles, I guess, at some point. That might be kind of cool. But even then, you don't need 4 world titles, Is Roman still carrying 3 or just the 1 now?
I think Heyman carries 2 and Roman carries the 1.
So
I lose track of how many titles Roman brings out.
So anyway,
you should just keep coming out with all of them. Just beat Seth or Cody, whoever holds that belt, and they come out and carry that title as well. Just hold them all.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. So we'll see. But I think your prediction is, like, what percentage would you think you'd put on that? Like, what chance would you say you
of
would
Priest cashing in
and leaving as the champion?
I think it's 50-50 because I think Priest comes out during the McIntyre and Rollins match regardless. I think Priest comes out and they do some type of distraction thing. And then McIntyre because McIntyre, and I'd like the build to this match, by the way. I think Rollins and McIntyre have done a really good job building this match. McIntyre can, once again claim he was screwed over. He was cost again. He lost out on his moment because Damian Priest came out, and so he lost. And then either Priest cashes in after that or he doesn't. But so I think it's 50-50 on Priest cashing in. I would have McIntyre win, honestly. Like, I'm higher on McIntyre winning than I am Priest, like, cashing in. I think McIntyre should win and you go from there. But I don't think it's super likely because he hasn't re-signed yet. And I don't think they're going to, now that McIntyre's unprofessional, I just don't think they're going to play that game.
Yeah, I could see that too. Although, like, it would be kind of cool, like, if McIntyre won and then they had, like, an actual, like, feud and one-on-one match with Priest and McIntyre at some point. Both those guys, like, being big and can both really work. I think they can put on some good matches.
Anything else standing out to you on this Crown Jewel card?
Well, but Priest is still one half of the tag champs with Balor, right?
Yeah.
And they're not defending the titles on this show because it looks like they're, like, teaming. They've teamed Sammy and Jay together again too. I don't know if they have, like, a tag match or anything coming up for this.
No, not anything.
Oh, because Sami Zayn versus JD. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess as far as other things standing out on the show, I mean, Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul. I think that'll actually be really good.
You think Logan Paul wins it?
Yeah, I think he'll leave as the U.S. champion. And, at this point, I think if anyone, I think it's completely fair for people to dislike Logan Paul, the human being. I understand that, but, like, I feel like you can't discredit what he's done in the ring and in, like, the WWE universe and stuff. I think he's very entertaining. He's a great heel, and he's really, really damn good in the ring for someone who doesn't do this, like, at all. And I think him and Ray are gonna have a really, really damn good match. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then, John Cena versus Solo Sikoa. I'm interested to see how it goes. I know the whole story is John Cena hasn't won a match in forever, so maybe he gets one here, or maybe it's a big win for Solo. And I also want to just shout out real quick. Like, I think that Io Sky versus Bianca Belair will be a really, really damn good match. They're 2 of my favorites. And I'd like to see Io retain just because I think it's really cool she's getting a run with the title right now. But, like, you can't go wrong with Bianca. She's so damn good that, like, she's like in that league with me, for me, of, like, the Charlottes and like, Charlotte's, Becky's, like that level of like the highest level women in the world of wrestling. Bianca's right there for me. She might be the best overall women wrestler in the world, honestly. Like, I mean, she's incredible. So like, it's a good card. I mean, and then also you got the other women's match with the 5-way for Rhea's title. So I mean, I think it'll be a good. I'll definitely be watching. It's in the middle of the day, which is great. I'll have this in the middle of the day, then I'll go to GCW that night in Atlanta. So I got a lot of wrestling this Saturday.
It should be a good card. I think Bianca is going to win the title because I think they're setting up Bianca Charlotte for Mania. I wish Io. It's on the Io run. Io's run started at SummerSlam. Doesn't feel like she's done a whole lot with the title. Now Bianca is just back in the picture. Bianca's run was growing a little stale for me by the time it got to SummerSlam, and I was happy to kind of see her lose to try to do something else. But then what she ended up doing was just taking time off and getting right back in the title picture. So it's not like it was almost a little bit Charlotte-ish of, it's not like she just did a different feud. Instead, she just went away for a few months, came back and right back in the title picture. I'd like to see Bianca not hold the belt for a while and see what they do with her. And maybe they don't know what to do with her because they don't know what to do with Charlotte when she's not in the title picture. She's either in the title picture or she's taking time off. And that's sort of where they're at with Charlotte right now, is she's still pretty much in that mix, but Bianca's getting the title shot. But I think they're setting up Bianca Charlotte at WrestleMania. And so you got to get the title on one of them before you can do that. Kyrie's return is looming. That's a big thing. So maybe we get Kyrie back here. She joins Damage Control, or maybe she just confronts Io after the match and she's not part of Damage Control or anything. But I think Bianca probably wins that. And I think Rhea retains. I think they're just going to keep her strong until Mania when she finally faces Becky.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think all that's probably right. Like I definitely see Rhea retaining, and with Bianca, you kind of mentioned her being kind of like a Charlotte type booking where like she just kind of like disappeared, came back right back in the mix. But that's kind of like, and I'm obviously fine with that because I don't really care about the storylines really outside of like some particular stories that they're running. Like mainly, I just want to see some good matches when I tune in for like the PLEs. And I know Bianca, like I can count on her to do that. So like, I'm personally as a fan, I'm totally fine with people like her and Charlotte, like just always being in that mix. Because when I tune in for the PLEs, it's like, okay, here's the Charlotte title match, here's the Bianca title match. Like I know they're going to be banger matches. You know what I mean? So like, and I feel that same way about Io. She just hasn't been pushed like as heavily or as long on like the main roster as someone like Charlotte or Bianca. But I think that I've always loved Io. I think that she's super, super talented. And I love her presentation and her entrance and everything. So yeah, this should be a good show. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a spectacle over there in Saudi Arabia.
And then I think Logan Paul beats Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah, he's got to. I mean, I didn't say he's got to. I mean, obviously, I love Rey Mysterio. Don't get me wrong, but it's just a unique opportunity for the WWE. And it'd be different if I didn't have as many title belts. I'd feel a little differently about it. But when you've got so many belts on in multiple shows and stuff, and he's such a big celebrity, like just Prime alone is so successful and so massive. This him walking around promoting stuff with that U.S. title on his shoulder, like in with the whole TKO company now and Endeavor and all that. It just makes sense that you would have us like if Bad Bunny was more available, he you know what I mean? Like he'd be super involved. I feel like if he was like in the States consistently and they like, I think they tried to put like the 24/7 title on him or something briefly.
Yeah, that was during the pandemic.
Right. So, but like, you know what I mean? If he was like more consistently available, like Logan is to do this, I'm sure they would put like the US title or something on Bad Bunny. You know what I mean? If they had the chance to. So then this also, I need to make it really clear that I would feel totally different about all of this if these guys like sucked in the ring and or like didn't have passion for this. People can say what they will about Logan Paul, but he's clearly putting in a lot of work to get good at this. He has a ring available. Same with boxing. People have to give him credit. Like you can't just jump into this and like you got to give him a lot of credit for the work ethic. And so like I guess it's just one of the things like he clearly is super dedicated to it. Bad Bunny is super dedicated when he's available. And even when he isn't dedicated to it, he is a lifelong wrestling fan. That guy is the real deal. He does not have to be involved with this at all, but he does it because he loves it. Like I heard him on like some interview years back where they were talking to him about like his biggest shows and like the most fun he's ever had and like the things he loves the most and all this stuff. And they kept talking to him about music, and he kept like cutting the interviewer off and was like, this is a long time. I can't remember who he was talking to, but he kept saying stuff like, he's like, oh no, like WWE. Like, no, WWE, like, no, that's what's the most fun. And like, he's kept talking about WWE, you know, and it's like, I got massive love for people who are like bigger than the wrestling business or like bigger than the WWE or have like these huge mainstream names, and they want to spend their time helping the business. You know what I mean? And that's what I think those guys are doing. So
Logan's going to win. He's going to show that belt off on Impulsive, and then he's going to lose to LA Knight. Yeah.
You know what? So I think that's actually an incredible, like, that's exactly what should happen. Like, to be completely honest,
consolation prize for LA Knight, right?
Well, and it's also like, it would keep LA Knight pushed, and it'd keep him in the mix, and it'd give him a title belt, and it'd keep him towards the upper card, and he'd have a big feud with LA Knight. He'd get a lot more mainstream attention because he would be on Impulsive, and he would be shown in more YouTube videos and like internet discussion and all this kind of stuff. I think that actually is a win-win for everybody, and they'd have a good match. Like him and Logan would actually have a good match. So like, I think I don't know if you're
beat him in 2 seconds.
Well, listen, outside of that last idea you just had, I don't know if you were like trolling or not by saying that, but I think that LA Knight and Logan for the US title was actually like a really smart idea.
No, not really trolling. I truly think that's a direction they can easily go. And because you want to keep LA Knight, you want to keep the momentum going as best you can after he inevitably loses to Roman on Saturday. And I think a feud with Logan is a good way to kind of keep that going, because Logan's an easy guy to get heat against, or I guess to get cheered against, because Logan gets easy heat, and then you can win, and then you get the US title and you go from there with it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
What really should happen is LA Knight beats Roman, and then he beats Logan Paul, and then he has both belts.
Yeah, don't know about that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
James, you gotta do it right.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah. It's yeah.
Yeah.
Right. There you go.
With everybody saying, if you smell, and that's the bottom line.
Your WWE spotlight is the Creed brothers, Brutus and Julius Creed, making their WWE Raw debut on Monday, defeating Alpha Academy, Otis and Chad Gable. And then they defeated Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza in a tables, ladders, and scares match on NXT. Thoughts on their debut and hopefully full-time call-up, because if you're going to beat the Alpha Academy, it seems like you should probably be there full-time and not back in NXT.
Yeah. So I love the Creed brothers. I think that they're really talented. I like that they're kind of like got like a throwback presentation of like the amateur wrestlers, but they can wrestle like a modern day style. They're out there doing like standing shooting stars and moonsaults and stuff. I liked their run in NXT. I didn't get to see a ton of it, but I have seen a lot of Ivy Nile because I cover NXT Level Up, and she's done a lot of her matches on that show. So I was very happy to see all three of them on Raw. I've been saying on the Weekender for a while now that I think Ivy Nile legitimately could be like a Charlotte or a Bianca type superstar in the WWE system. I think she's got a great look. She's different, and she's very believable. She has like kind of this MMA vibe to her in her in-ring style. And I love her standing dragon sleeper finisher and stuff. Like I think she has I'm going to curse. I'm trying to pull back the cursing on this show a little bit. We talked about that before, then we totally went back on it. But she has a ton of potential in that system. And she showed a little bit of that by German suplexing Tozawa on the outside of the ring during the match. That got a pretty good pop. But the Creeds looked great out there, dude. The one thing that I'll say is their finish, like that Doomsday cannonball thing that they do, is dangerous. I don't know if it looked awesome that they did it to Otis, having Otis up on their shoulders like that. But that cannonball, I think it's Brutus that does it off the top. He landed right on Julius. Yeah. And that's like if you landed on his head, that would have been really scary. But if he landed like more on his chest, I'd probably switch the finish there just so it's a bit safer. It's a cool idea. I give him a ton of creativity points on it. Looks very cool. But yeah, I'm actually really excited for them on Raw. I think that they should rise through the ranks pretty quickly if they're getting a win over Alpha Academy that quick. And I don't think there's anything left for them to really do in NXT. So I think with the three of them, you're getting a great tag team. You're getting two potential single stars. Like I think that Julius especially probably like could maybe break out as a singles guy at some point. And then Ivy Nile, you have a new woman in the mix who can already go and is only going to keep getting better. So I think this was good. I was actually like, for somebody who doesn't get that excited over stuff going on in like WWE on a consistent basis, when I saw that they were on Raw, I went out of my way to tune into the show and check it out. And I was really happy with what I saw. So good for them.
They're a good shot in the arm to the main roster tag team division, which has kind of been lacking for a little while now. Like it's been Judgment Day, and then Cody and Jay won the titles for like 3 weeks, which was nice because especially after their press conference and everything. But the tag division hasn't quite hit on many levels because they split the Usos and then they end up splitting Sammy and Kevin with this trade. So they need more depth with the teams, and I think they probably need to get the belt off of Judgment Day sooner rather than later because they're kind of all doing single stuff as well. I'd like to get the belts on more tag teams. And, obviously the Creed brothers are a team that are a cohesive team, not two singles guys just teaming together, because that's what it's been for most of this year. I mean, Sammy and Kevin, obviously a team, but they've been just singles guys for so long. Cody and Jay were two singles guys thrown together. Judgment Day, two singles guys, more or less. Again, they've been kind of teaming, but you recognize them more as singles guys. So I'd like to see the tag team division get a little bit more care in WWE, and I think the Creed brothers are a good start with that. Yeah, it was a great match that they had on Raw. Very good match that they had on NXT Halloween Havoc as well. They got some good pieces in the tag division. I don't fully like that the tag teams can float because they don't always do the best jobs utilizing that. Like the Street Profits are doing good work with Lashley, but what are they fighting for? Judgment Day is not showing up on that show because they're so concerned with everything going on Raw. Like you can make that work. You just got to be consistent with it. And they're not always consistent with how often the tag team champions actually appear and how in the storylines that they do. So, but I do like the Creed brothers, and I do think they on Raw is good. There's more time for that show. So they have the opportunity to have kind of longer matches and be more established on that show.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, they're a real shot in the arm for like the tag team division in general. But I'm with you, but it also just in general, it convolutes when you have so many titles and then some of them go back and forth, some of them don't. And yeah, brand split, whatever. But yeah, I'm happy that the Creeds are on the main roster now, and same for Ivy Nile. I really think that they're going to be a real benefit to being on those shows.
I do wonder what they're going to do with Ivy Nile, like if she sticks and actually has something to going on with the tag team division. It's easy with Alpha Academy because they have the Maxine there as well, but they're both like babyfaces teams. They embraced afterwards and everything. So I do wonder if they're actually going to like utilize Ivy as a women's competitor, or if she's just going to kind of be a background player, which I think would be a mistake because I'm with you that she has more than just, hey, here's manager of the Creeds in her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. She's also someone that's the benefit. I say this often on the Weekender. There's a real benefit to watching NXT level up, in my opinion. It's not going to be for everyone. I get that. But if you go into that show with the right mindset of like, you're watching people learn, they're just out there. They're out there getting reps in front of real eyes, real fans. It's better than tucking people away like they used to in like FCW in a warehouse. You don't see them or hear from them for years and hope they eventually show up on Raw or SmackDown. Like this is, I watched the progression of Ivy Nile go from somebody who was brand new to somebody who like kind of week after week, month after month, now over a year or whatever she's at now in the company. I've seen her getting a lot better right before my eyes. And there's a lot of these guys like Dante Chen and like Hard Body Hobby, and like there's these guys who came in with no characters, no gimmicks, super generic, super green, and you watch them get better, and and now hopefully they get a shot on NXT, they get a shot on Raw or SmackDown. And I think Ivy Nile is like she's a great example of like the NXT level up system working. And I wanted to shout that out as well. I think NXT level up doesn't get really any love. I understand most people don't care about it. I get it, but there is a benefit to that show. And I think it's an enjoyable show because it's an hour long. I watched it on Hulu. It's an hour long, but like half of it is just going to be like a recap from like Raw or SmackDown. You're watching maybe like a half hour of actual wrestling, but you're getting to learn about the future stars of the company. There's even like Miles Bourne, I think is going to be a really big star for the company one day. There's certain people like no one's talking about. No one knows he's in the company. A lot of these people, but if you watch Level Up, you might learn a little bit about these people and get to really watch their progression. So I want to give that show a little bit of credit for actually working for like the intended purpose of what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, if you watch that show, like you said, with the eyes of, hey, these guys are just kind of learning. It's a developmental show. That's what it is. It's a developmental show, and they're getting kind of TV reps out there. And I can't say I watch it weekly or anything like that. I check out matches when I'm told to kind of check out matches, but I can imagine, you kind of see the development of people. That's their true developmental show, not NXT. NXT is the third brand that they want to pretend it's a developmental anytime they lose to AEW in the ratings.
Right. Well, and that's another thing. And I know we got to move on to other topics, but like the original, I used to say all the time, the original Black and Gold NXT was a massive failure from that perspective. From like the overall perspective, I think it was awesome. It was great getting, they basically made a super indie in the WWE with the NXT Black and Gold, it was awesome. I credit that for a lot of my love of like staying as a wrestling fan during those days when I didn't like the WWE product. But that era I would consider a failure from a developmental standpoint, because what they were really doing was just hiring already over talent that could already work all over the world and just putting it together a super indie. We didn't really, maybe like Baron Corbin, you can call like a success out of that. There might be a couple others that like weren't wrestlers before they're in that system. But NXT Level Up is like doing what that was intended to do that entire time. I feel like you're taking people, like you see people literally on that show go from super generic. They don't even have finishing moves. Their finishing moves are like clotheslines or like a scoop slam or something like that. And eventually like they develop a finishing move, develop a little bit of a character, they get little storylines with one another. And like for someone who likes watching the development of wrestlers, especially because of all the indies I watch and kind of like the scouting I do in my own head with like the talent, like that's kind of what that is for me with the WWE system. So I think once again, I think it deserves credit for like actually developing talent.
Nowhere else are you going to find that much in-depth analysis on NXT Level Up.
Never. Nowhere else ever will you hear that. It's because once again, I review it every weekend for the Fight for Select Weekender podcast. I watch all those matches and give you a little take on how I felt about the progression of these talents. So if you like that kind of talk, subscribe to fightforselect.com. I think you'd enjoy the Weekender.
There we go. All right, let's move on to our AEW spotlight.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
I gotta change this bumper. They ain't had 1 million fans in a while now. That's no knock. That's just facts. Everybody, just where they're at. What?
So I love you, Tony.
AEW Dynamite ended last night with MJF getting pinned in an 8-man tag team match by Jay White. And then Jay White was going to hit him with the belt. Max Caster pushed MJF out of the way. Max Caster got hit with the belt. And then they all scissored and none of it mattered. What were your thoughts, Jensen?
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie. Not my favorite episode of Dynamite last night for like a handful of reasons. Just a lot of it just didn't hit with me. And I know you kind of felt the same way based on like our short discussion of like picking topics for today.
So here to peel back the curtain as we do, we usually pick 2 topics on each of our little categories here. And Jensen picked this as his AEW spotlight. And I was like, do you just want to pick another one? Because nothing nothing really spoke to me. And that's not to say like the entire show was bad or anything like that. I like the Tony Storm stuff. They're doing good work. I actually like the progression that they had with Sky Blue and Willow and Julia Hart. I think there's different ways you can get there than what they did last night, but I did like that. There's some fine stuff on the show. I like the John Moxley promo. That was fantastic. I'm looking forward to John Moxley, Orange Cassidy at Full Gear, but nothing's like, oh, this is great. I can't wait to really dive into this and talk about this.
Yeah, I felt the same way. And then like the only other kind of big thing would be Mogul Embassy. I always forget the name of like their group now. Mogul Embassy, them like winning back the 6-man trios ROH titles. But that's technically Ring of Honor, and it was weird they even put the titles on the Hung Bucks to begin with. So anyway, as far as like our actual topic today, the MJF stuff, Jay White. I mean, the reason I chose it is just mainly because there wasn't a whole lot much else to talk about, to be completely honest, like we just mentioned. And obviously seeing MJF take that visual pin, that defeat from Jay, excuse me, heading into geez, now I'm getting
Full
mixed
Gear.
up. Full Gear is Crown Jewels this Saturday. Full Gear is next
2 weeks. No, 2 weeks.
2 weeks on the 18th. I'm looking at my calendar. Sorry.
Yeah, the 18th.
18th.
Yes.
Okay. So in a couple weeks, they'll have the actual one-on-one match. But we saw last night Jay White actually pin MJF after a Switchblade. Was that Switchblade? That's the name of his finisher, right? That's the name of his
Blade
gimmick.
Runner.
Blade Runner.
Blade
Jeez,
Runner.
I'm all off this morning, dude. Couldn't remember that Cody and Brock main evented in Saudi Arabia, man. Totally throwing me off. But I'm going to be honest, like, I'm not really into like the whole MJF, will he or won't they with Daddy Ass and the Acclaimed and stuff. I don't really care so much. I like that they're pulling back the curtain with the history between Max Caster and Create a Pro with MJF and all that stuff. We've known each other for a long time, but I wasn't one of those people at the end of the show last night that was like popping for, the big scissoring at the end. There's certain things about MJF that, like, I don't know. There are certain things about him as a babyface that I don't like, and this is one of them. I'll just put it that way.
I'm going to get this super chat. Chi-Town Spurs says, you've been right to criticize this product recently. The ending reminded me of Drew singing with Fury. Here's the thing. I didn't mind the ending. I didn't mind that they scissored. Cool, fun moment. I didn't think that was the place to do it after MJF takes this visual loss. This is the first time he's got pinned on Dynamite, I believe. He's been pinned before. Dax pinned him on Collision. He's lost like on time, the count out losses to Sean Dean or the DQ losses, Sean Dean. He's obviously lost before.
Right.
But I think on Dynamite, this is the first time he's like been pinned. Because I think all of his other losses in like tag team matches, the other person has gotten pinned. I could be wrong, but I think that like I'm pretty sure I'm like 95% sure I'm correct on this.
I can't remember. Like I remember it feeling it looked strange to me seeing it happen last night because it was so rare. I think you're right. You might be right. That might have been the first time he got pinned on Dynamite ever in 4 years. That's wild.
And so like that should be a big deal. So the fact that they do basically 2 angles after that, and then they just go into the scissoring is like, it should have just been a bigger deal. I think like he should have gotten pinned. If you want to do, this is just me spitballing here. I don't know if it's good or anything. But MJF gets pinned. And if you want to do Jay White's about to hit him, but then Caster shoves him out of the way and then Caster takes the bullet and then MJF looks a little like distraught of like, oh, what kind of happened type of thing. Close there. You go into Saturday, you do the 69 celebration. Max Caster's feeling a little bit down at this celebration. He's like, I haven't heard from MJF since Wednesday. I'm wondering where we stand kind of thing. Daddy S and Anthony Bowen's like, come on, 69, blah, 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 blah. And then finally MJF comes out. He thanks the Acclaimed and Caster for, helping him in the match. He thanks Caster for, taking that bullet for him with the title shot. Then you can do this big fired up MJF promo. Like, I haven't talked to you because I've been dwelling on this loss. Jay White pinned me. Like, he still has my belt. I got to get him back type of thing. Caster's like, it's okay. Like, it's going to be okay. We're all friends now. Then you do the big 69 scissor celebration on Saturday and everybody has a great time on Saturday. I don't know. Like, just let things breathe a little bit. That's all I would have wanted. The scissor celebration was a great moment. Like, it was fun. But sometimes you just got to let this stuff breathe a little bit. I didn't hate it or anything. I just wish more attention would have been put on Jay White getting pinned or Jay White pinning MJF. That should have felt like a bigger deal. And by the end of it, everybody was just talking about the scissor celebration.
Yeah. And I agree with everything about that. And that's part of why I didn't love where I said like babyface MJF, like this is something about MJF babyface run that isn't for me. Is a lot of because of what you just said. Exactly. Because the end of that show, if MJF's going to be a babyface right now, which he clearly is at the moment, that show should have ended with like a somber, like the heels win, right? Like, I mean, Jay White just pinned MJF. MJF should be feeling down and out, like, and it should affect his relationship with Adam Cole, like you said, because maybe miscommunication, because of the loss and stuff. But instead it ended on a high note. And giving the fans what they wanted with the scissoring and all that stuff, that all should have been waited until Collision, until they could wrap this stuff up. I agree with that. Everything you just said 100%. That would have made a lot more sense because that was part of it too. And I think that the super chat that came through that you just read from, was it Chi-Town Spurs that sent that? Yeah. That it is similar to the Drew losing and then just turning around and seeing American Pie, like no big deal. I think that's a really good comparison actually. So, no, I'm with y'all on that. I didn't like the presentation. Like, the dude loses on Dynamite, we'll just say, for the first time ever, gets pinned. He's the world champion. Someone else is holding his title belt hostage. His best friend isn't returning his calls or whatever, and all this stuff. And
he's on FaceTime with it.
I'm on FaceTime, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I forgot. Adam Cole was rocking like the beard.
Yeah, he's just growing that beard out.
But anyway, with all this stuff going on, my point really is with all this stuff going on with MJF, it really should have felt like he was down and out and he lost and like he needs to figure things out after last night. Instead, it was kind of like, damn, took the L. All right, well, let's get the fans home happy. Like that just came off weird to me. Listen, there's some people that in the chat that seem to really like it, and that's totally fine. But I also think there's a lot of people that feel like a Y syllable where the balance feels off. That's probably the best way I could put it. The balance felt off with that.
I'm just asking for stuff to breathe a little bit. That's all. Like,
yeah.
You still get your system on Saturday. What's wrong with having it on Saturday instead of last night? Like, they're going to do whatever they're going to do on Saturday. Probably scissor again. I actually think somebody will come out. They'll challenge them for the titles, whatever. Maybe it's the Kingdom because they're like, you took our spot with MJF's partners. I don't know. Like, I know stuff has never breathed on Dynamite. That's kind of been my problem is I want stuff to breathe a little bit on Dynamite. Like, especially at what point will we just accept it? I don't know. If you want to accept it, that's fine. Jeff Valley Driver. I just think, sometimes maybe you got to switch it up. Let it breathe. Breathe with the switchblade out there. Some moments are worth letting it breathe. Some stuff, if you just want to action pack, okay. But like some stuff, I just want the women's stuff. Like, I think it was Jeff Valley Driver. Like they're doing a non-title women's program with Sky Blue, Willow, and Julie. I like that. I think there's a different direction you can go to get there. I know Jeff Valley Driver watches In the Weeds. We have a lot of regulars who watch In the Weeds, so they probably heard my criticism of Willow and Shida before the match. Match was good, as you'd expect. They had a good match, but I didn't like that Willow was basically getting a title shot after she lost the TBS title match, and then she lost in that 4-way number 1 contenders match, and then it's like, oh, well, you're still getting a title shot here. Why couldn't you do Shida? Stick with me, guys. 2 women's matches. Everybody. Why couldn't you do Shida against someone? I don't know who. Pick somebody. Pick someone who was not in that 4-way match that lost. Here's the problem is most of the people they pick, they either have one win and then immediately lose the title match, so they're coming off a loss, or that's basically it. Like most of the people that they have just get one, they win one, and then they lose the title match. And so it's like, oh, okay, well, now we just got people coming off of losses. So you pick somebody, you either do it as a title eliminator match, or you do an open challenge gimmick with Shida, and she defends the title against someone. Nyla Rose. I know people are gonna be like, oh, Nyla Rose she's not on TV, blah, blah, blah. Like, I get it. Make it a AEW title eliminator match. Becky's defending the title against Indy Hartwell, and Indy Hartwell didn't really win a ton of matches or anything. It's fine. I don't have an issue with that if it's just like a title eliminator thing. Even if it's an open challenge and Nyla answers it and comes in there. Again, the problem is they don't give anybody wins on the show, and the people they do give wins to, they immediately lose a title match. Like, that's just kind of how the booking is. Anyway, going back to my original point. You do Shida, again, let's say Nyla Rose. You do Shida, Nyla Rose, Shida wins. You do the big Tony Storm thing, which is all about stealing the spotlight, right? Like that's the whole point. That's what you were getting to with the Shida Willow match. Shida wins. Who comes out? Tony Storm. She steals the spotlight. Shida runs her off and everything. Okay. Then you do a second women's match. Everybody, I know that's a little crazy. It's a little odd. You do a second women's match of you do Willow and somebody, or you do Willow and Sky Blue against a team. And then Willow wins, or Willow and Sky Blue wins. And then you do the Julia Hart angle after that. Because the whole point of Shida and Willow was what? The post-match stuff. The Shida winning, cool, awesome. She gets another title defense to make it seem like she's defending her title a bunch before I assume she loses to Tony Storm. And then Willow loses. Like, okay, she keeps losing. It didn't at the end really matter, the wins and losses, because all they wanted to do was get to Shida and Tony stealing the spotlight, Shida running her off, and then Willow, Julia, and Sky Blue with Sky spitting the miss. The post-match stuff was what mattered,
right?
During it, not the actual Willow and Shida match. You can get there in different ways, everybody. You can get there in different ways. And some of the stuff they're doing isn't bad. I just wish they would take a different route. They go this like kind of direct, hey, let's throw it all at you at one straight line motion type of thing. It's like, maybe just, take a right turn and then go into a left turn and just take a more scenic route. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's actually, I really don't have much I can add to that. Like, I think that's all like, I think that's all really valid, like criticism. And also I think a lot of the AEW fan base would totally agree with that. It's tough for me, even like with all the wrestling I watch, and like, I as much as I love wrestling, and dude, I have a hard time keeping up with stuff in AEW. You know what I mean? Like, that's coming from a hardcore wrestling fan. And at the end of the day, I think you're right. If the after the match stuff is going to be more important in these scenarios, anyways, why are you having certain wrestlers taking losses that don't need to be taking losses? And why are so many people winning on shows? Like, when you look at people's win-loss records and whatnot, a lot of the time it's like, wait, so-and-so has won that many matches? And then you're like, oh, well, yeah, on Rampage, on like all these other shows, like I don't watch, like I don't see them winning, but like, I guess they're winning not just technically on the show, but they're not winning on Dynamite, not winning on Collision. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to bring this up real quick. So just in case I told my buddy I'd bring this up. My buddy, Michael Hughes, who always comes over for AEW. He, I think I told you the other week that his wife recently got into AEW. And like, she's got like her like favorite wrestlers. Like she loves FTR and stuff. Like she got her like really into it. She loves the matches. And she wanted me I told him I'd bring this up because I thought it was so funny. She hates Ricky Starks.
Well, he's only on Collision, so
right. Well, she pretty much she watches a little bit of Dynamite, but her show is Collision. She watches every Saturday night now because that FTR versus Bullet Club Gold tag team match drew her in, and she's watched ever since on Saturdays. And she's a complete like noob wrestling fan. She doesn't know anything about anything. Never watched WWE, nothing. Like, this is it. And she just dove deep into just AEW over the last couple months. And so it's been cool hearing her perspective on who she likes, who she doesn't like, and stuff like that. And last night, my buddy was like, dude, she hates Ricky Starks. And I was like, dude, that's perfect. Cause that's what he's going for. And it's so funny. And I was like, does she know though, like in real life, that like everyone universally calls him like one of the nicest, like most humble, like he's in real life, he's actually like the complete opposite. He's just really good at playing a dick. And, obviously she understands that, but it was just, I just thought it was so funny that was the one person she wanted to make a point. She was like she loves Eddie Kingston. Like she's got like some of her people that she loves, but the one person she makes sure to mention, she hates Ricky Stark. So Ricky, if you ever hear this or anyone ever realizes this to Ricky, because I know there's a lot of mutuals amongst us in the wrestling space, you are doing your job, Ricky. You are getting casual wrestling fans to despise you based on your heel work. So congratulations, sir. Maybe
Ricky and Big Bill will defend the titles against the Bucks. They're owed a title shot for people who don't remember at Full Gear. You know, we'll see. We'll see if they remember that. Ricky remembers. He brought that up on Twitter. I don't know if anybody else remembers because they certainly don't. They don't bring it up too much. You know, the Bucks are now worried about what's going on with Kenny. Kenny's worried about what's going on with Jericho. Poor Hangman. No one cares that his house got broken into.
Right.
You know?
Oh my gosh. Facts.
Anyway, MJF, anything else to add to that conversation?
No, I'm sure we'll talk more about it around the time of the title match of Full Gear.
Yeah. I'm sure everything will be fine. They'll all 69 on Saturday. People will love it. It's good.
There you go.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Those straight line lines of coke, baby. Lines of coke. The NWA Pro Wrestling is back. NWA Samhain. I don't know what else happened on this show. But You know what did happen? Cocaine and Jack Daniels. That's what happened on this show. Big badass Billy Pumpkin. He's bringing it back. Cocaine, Jack Daniels, PEDs, hard-hitting wrestling, physical wrestling, real stories, letting moments breathe. That's what I go to the NWA for. That's why NWA, it's the number one wrestling program in the Lambert household.
There you go. Wow, you're back in, man. You went from not wanting to talk about this company to this is the number one.
You give me cocaine? I'm all in on any company with cocaine.
Right. Now I'm gonna let our young audience know here we're not endorsing the usage of any illegal substances by having this discussion here on the show here on Fightful.com. But yeah, that was hilarious. I purposely omitted this from talking about this on the Weekender because I give the results for that, mainly just the matches so people know who won and lost matches, finishes, and stuff like that. But I was like, dude, I had a feeling we'd be talking about this today. So I did not talk about so basically for people who don't know, but during NWA Samhain, don't call it Samhain, there was, they panned the camera over to Father James Mitchell, Gags the Gimp, and Sal the Pal. And these women are all around this
Cleveland's
table.
finest.
Yeah, right. And they're literally, we're not exaggerating. You can literally find clips of this. Just like, I think it was, who was it on Twitter? It was like someone, Orange Crush maybe on Orange Twitter. Crush, they put they tweeted the video of it. So you can go check that out. I think he said, he was like, oh, never mind. NWA is actually cool. But literally, it's what me and Jeremy are describing. They pan the camera over to them, and they're literally doing blow. Like they got lines of coke on the table.
This was no like, let's do kind of like, is that what they're doing? Is that what they're referencing? Nah, they hit you over the head with that shit.
Yeah. Oh no, it was literally all over the table. You saw Father James Mitchell like licking his fingers and stuff, and like they were passing around a bottle of Jack Daniels and taking swigs right out of the bottle. So yeah, I would say that was probably the most memorable and entertaining thing that happened on NWA Samhain. There's really not much more to talk about for that show, honestly. Like,
big
EC3.
Badass Billy Corgan, his promo against Matt Cardona, that ruled.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of him getting more involved on the show and stuff.
Me neither, but if he's gonna cut promos like that, I want him every single.
And they're like, they're building between like Camille and Cardona. EC3 retained the title over Latimer. There's not, we're not here to review. If you want to review a recap of NWA Samhain, check out the Weekender. I did that this past Sunday over on FightfulSelect.com. But yes, thank you for wanting to highlight the fact that we're getting cocaine usage and alcohol consumption on the National Wrestling Alliance television shows now. So not sure why they thought that'd be a good idea.
Because you got people like me talking about it.
There's that. There definitely is. You can do a lot of things that'll get people talking.
I like this comment myself. I try to do a Pusha T ad lib, but you'd probably make fun of me for my whiteness, so I don't want to do it.
Fair, that's fair. But anyway, yeah, we can move on from that topic. I mean, that if y'all want to check it out, the clip's available online. Like, just watch the. I mean, it is hilarious. It's exactly as we're describing. They're just they're snorting lines and like licking up coke off of the table. Yeah, so
absolutely rules. Other spotlight. We have 3 other spotlights today. Another one is everybody wants out of MLW. It seems Lance Ananoe, Juicy Fanoa, and the big one is Alex Hammerstone. All request a release. Lance and Juicy say they got theirs, and then we haven't heard about Hammerstone. It seems like it's been denied so far. But yeah, 3 guys. Hammerstone, again, he's coming off that title run. He just lost it over the summer to Alex Kane, but he was one of their top pushed guys for these past couple of years, and he's like, yeah, kind of won out. What do you make of this, Jensen?
Yeah, so as far as like Lance Anoa'i and GC Finau, I think that those were the 2 people I was referencing at the top of the show, how like they could extend the bloodline story if they wanted to bring those guys in. Like, I'm just saying it's the, but I think that both of them are talented. Juicy especially has gotten like a lot better over the years. I remember seeing him like when he was really early on. I don't want to mention his opponent for one of these matches because he's since been canceled, but I watched him had a match with somebody years back where Juicy was like super green at the time, and you could tell his opponent got pissed off during the match and after the match because like he just it wasn't clicking, and you could tell something was up. But since then, like the dude has gotten so much better. For a big guy, he can move around a lot better than you would imagine just by like looking at him. And I think Lance is underrated too. Is like just kind of 2 underrated members of that family. The main kind of get would be Jacob Fatu, obviously.
Yeah.
If they could bring him in. Now, as far as Hammerstone goes, you're right. I mean, if you go back just a handful of years, you had the long run of Jacob Fatu, which then led into the long run for the world title with Alex Hammerstone. Even after that, Hammerstone, always involved. He was the main priority of that show for the last 2 years or whatever it was when he was the champion. But what the way I understand it, based on the Fightful Select report, is, and I could be wrong, this is just me reading from outside looking in. It seems like Hammerstone wants out, probably for a variety of reasons, but one of them is probably like, where do you go from here? Like, you've been the champion this long. What's there left to accomplish? And he's got this look that's would be very appealing to a company like WWE. And he's got the charisma, he's got the in-ring skill, the tenure and stuff, to where like he could be a big deal in another bigger company. But he also did sign a contract till 2025 reportedly. And on MLW side, they're like, we don't want you to go because we've invested all this into you. And also they're apparently saying that his like attitude, or whatever you want to call it, like his motivation has like dwindled a bit since learning he was going to lose the title to Alex Kane. So I guess maybe even leading up to losing the title, they had seen some differences in doing business with him, maybe. So, and then Hammerstone came out and publicly said on X, like he quote tweeted Sean and literally said, like, I don't want to misquote him, but he basically said, hey, I this is true. Like I loved my time in MLW. It's been a great run, but like I am trying to get out. So in my personal opinion, I see both sides of this. I would, in a perfect scenario, Hammerstone could just get out of his deal and just go work somewhere he wants to work, and MLW could move on and like just push. They got great talent there that they could push. But I also understand MLW's perspective of it's like, bro, like you signed a contract with us until 2025, and like we can't. It wasn't in our deal that like you were going to be the champion this entire length of this contract. We gotta build and push other people, and if you don't like that, we're going to go with Alex Kane, and you don't want to do our shows, like that's a problem, So like I see both sides of this. In most scenarios like this, I tend to side with the talent over the company, because I'm big on like the whole independent contractor idea and stuff. But at the same time, when you're signing contracts, you're signing contracts, so it's a messy situation potentially. I don't know where what ultimately winds up happening, but I think that Hammerstone, if you were able to get free from MLW, and also MLW has had a history of this in the past with like other talents that have tried to get out and they held them to their contracts for like longer times and stuff like that. So, but if Hammerstone were able to get out, I think that he would be really successful, like in a bigger company. I think WWE would like WWE is the one that really sticks out as like, if he were to get into that system, I think he could be very successful there. So.
I think WWE would be great for Hammerstone. I don't know. He'd probably start in NXT. I don't need AEW bringing in kind of more guys. He kind of teased the Dynasty picture with Richard Holiday, who's also a free agent, and then Hammerstone and MJF free agent, or not a free agent, but signed to AEW, reportedly a free agent at the end of the year. We'll see how that plays out. I think Hammerstone would have a lot of success in WWE if that's where he ended up going. I think Impact right now with their TNA rebrand, they could be bringing in a lot of guys and having some kind of changeover there. And, Hammerstone would be a nice fit there as someone new, someone fresh who can do different things and has a lot of potential new matchups there, because Hammerstone's been in MLW, it seems like, basically his entire career. I know he's done like independence and he's gone to Japan and things like that, but for the most part, national television wise, it's just been MLW work. So there's a lot of fresh stuff for Hammerstone to do. Whether or not they let him out of his contract is going to be a different story.
Well, they can literally show Vince and I get that Triple H is technically in charge and Nick Khan and this kind of stuff, but like Vince is still involved. They could show Vince literally highlights of Hammerstone cosplaying Hulk Hogan on MLW, and I feel like he'd be like, "Wait a second, I don't know if they'd have him come in and like play Hulk Hogan like he was on MLW TV, but I think they'd see that and be like, okay, like this could be a guy for us, you know what I mean?" So, or they might get offended where they're like, they're ripping us off. What's going on here? But. Yeah. Anyway, that's how I feel about it. I understand both sides, but it's unfortunate that like I think it'll probably wind up being a bit messy, because I don't expect MLW to just let him walk. But I understand why he would want to. So.
The other spotlights. We had a big boxing fight this past weekend. This is wrestling related because Tyson Fury was involved. Tyson Fury against Francis Ngannou. Their big heavyweight showdown, the Battle of the Baddest is what they called this. Also wrestling related because it's Saudi Arabia. That's where WWE will be this Saturday. Tyson Fury eked out a decision. Very competitive fight. Very, very close fight. A lot of people thought that Ngannou won. Ngannou got the knockdown. No matter what, he will forever have that knockdown. Who did you think won this fight, Jensen?
Yeah, so I don't want to talk about this too long just because I want to make sure we get into our other indie spotlights real quick. But I do appreciate you bringing this up because I do think Francis Ngannou won that fight. When I watched it live, I scored it. I believe my scorecard was like 96-95 or something like that. It was a 1 point difference. I actually scored it the same exact way as the judge who scored it for Ngannou, because it was a split decision where one of the judges gave it to Ngannou, two gave it to Fury. I scored it the same exact way as the judge that gave it to Fury to Ngannou. My line of thinking was I thought it was legitimately even going into the fifth round. Sorry, going into the final round. I thought it was it was split, but. I thought it was split by the end of the fight. Like it was 5 rounds to 5 rounds. But because of the knockdown in the 10-8 round for the knockdown that Ngannou got on Fury, that gave him the 1 point advantage. I think I don't want to sit here and say that Ngannou got robbed, because it is close. It is boxing. And I even said before the fight even started, I said, if this goes to a decision, it doesn't matter how good Ngannou does, he's going to lose a decision. So that's pretty much what happened, in my opinion. And I think Francis Ngannou shocked a lot of people. He shocked myself with how well he did. I didn't expect him to do that, to look like that against Tyson Fury. So huge shout out to Ngannou. And also a huge shout out to people who bet on themselves. Like Dana White talked a lot of trash about Ngannou leaving and said he didn't understand what his real value was. And he was playing it safe and not inducting John Jones and all this stuff. And it's like, no, dude, he went in my opinion, he just beat the best heavyweight boxer in the world outside of maybe Usyk. That argument can be made, of course. And anyway, so yeah, I am one of the people who thought Ngannou I'm not just saying this because I'm an MMA fan. I'd be totally fine with admitting if I thought Fury won. I legitimately scored it for Ngannou by winning by 1 point.
Okay. I had Tyson Fury just edging it out. I don't think it was a robbery. I think robbery is a term too many people throw around when they just don't agree with the decision. No, but I don't think it was a robbery. I thought, look, Ngannou he was the winner in the end, even though he didn't win on the scorecards. He got the knockdown. He did way better than anybody thought he was going to do. I don't know if it was Fury looking bad or if it was Ngannou really looking good. I think it's a little bit of both. But I am very interested. I'm way more interested to watch Francis Ngannou's next fight now. I assume he's going to be back in a boxing ring.
You should do him and Deontay Wilder. I think that would be money.
So I'm very interested in watching his next fight. Like heavyweight boxing is funny because obviously Ngannou's talented, but a lot does come down to power. Like some of these guys just hit really hard, and Ngannou's a guy who hits really hard. So I'm interested in his next fight. Fury's going to face Usyk in December. I assume that's still on. I know he took some damage in this fight, but I don't think it was a great showing for Fury. I thought it was a really good showing for Ngannou, and it was a fun. Outside of the hour-long wait to get to the damn fight, it was a fun Saturday.
It was terrible. Having to watch these concerts and stuff. It's a mess.
Yeah. That's a lot of boxing fights, but this one was something else with the weight and everything. Let's get to our indie spotlight.
I want to give a big motherfucking shout out.
Indie Queen Ronda Rousey making the towns. She was at Lucha Vavoom, teaming with Marina Shafir against Ty Valkyrie and Brian Kendrick. She's going to be at Wrestling Revolver in a couple weeks, teaming with Marina Shafir. That's a show that's going to be for charity as well. Sami Callihan said after production gets paid, all the proceeds are going to go to charity. So Ronda Rousey doing some independent work. What do you think of this, Jensen?
I love it. I mean, and I saw that like WWE put her on the alumni page, like right when this stuff started getting announced, which is kind of petty. Not really petty. I get it. Like if she's going to work other places, but I listen. It's kind of surprising though, because I figured that Ronda might be like kind of disenchanted by the whole wrestling thing at this point. Like, I mean, she's already done everything there is to do, and she did it in the WWE, and I figured she'd just kind of ride off into the sunset, or maybe even return to MMA now that Amanda Nunes is retired. Like maybe she'd try to slide in there and fight anyone that isn't her. Because I think Ronda might have a shot against maybe someone like Juliana Pena on a bad night or something. But anyway,
I think she's been out the MMA game too long to do that.
I'm with you though. I'm with you there as well. But there's kind of an idea in the back of my mind of like what would she do next. I really didn't think she'd go into the indie scene. But I think it's cool. She's going to give back to the wrestling business a lot with that. She's going to draw a lot of attention. She might have some banger matches too, like maybe some stuff she wasn't able to do in the WWE. Maybe she's even better than what we realized. But I think it's just cool. I think it's cool that she's such a fan that she wants to keep doing this when obviously she's made enough money to not have to do this anymore. And it's cool that Revolver's bringing her in, Sami Callihan, and the stuff he's doing with that company and the buzz that that company's creating. And that's badass that they're going to give so much of that money. They're going to make sure that their staff gets paid and that everything else is going to go, you said, to charity, you said. So that's great. That's a win for everybody, you know? And the main thing is I got to see Ronda Rousey at Bloodsport. That's what's got to happen now, right? So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Good for Ronda, and maybe she'll wind up at AEW at some point or something. I don't know, but hey, good for her. Ronda's earned, in my opinion, she's earned the right to do whatever she wants to do. People don't understand what she meant to the world of MMA if you weren't a part of that at the time. Like they literally went from Dana White saying women will never fight in this company to we're all about this because of this one woman, and there's other women who were involved as well that were important along the way, like Cyborg and Gina Carano and some others in the UFC and stuff, but in Elite XT, Strikeforce and whatnot. But my point is, Ronda doesn't have to do this. I think it's pretty cool. She wants to stay involved.
I'm with you that look, she clearly still likes pro wrestling. Her last WWE run was what it was. She
wasn't good.
No, she looked disinterested. The company didn't seem very interested in booking her.
Didn't seem like a big star anymore, like she was.
No. Yeah, things had seemed faded. So I've never been a big Ronda Rousey fan anyway. I understand her importance, especially in the world of MMA and even in WWE during that first run. Like I got it, but I just wasn't a fan of her. And her work during the first run was largely fine. Even good. This last run again was what it was. But if she wants to go on the independent scene, have some fun with Marina and work different stuff, like good on her. I don't need to really see her in AEW or anything like that. But the independent stuff, she clearly does have a passion still for various aspects of wrestling. And I think she'll probably be happier and certainly more free on the independent scene. Yeah, Bloodsport seems like a no-brainer, especially given her connection to Josh Barnett and everything.
Yeah, and PWG, like the next PWG show, I expect her to be a part of. So
yeah. Then the other indie spotlight, you are going to GCW this weekend, and I know you're looking forward to this. This is the match you want to highlight. Los Macizos against Violence is Forever for the GCW tag team titles.
Yes, I will be there live this Saturday, Center Stage, Atlanta, Georgia. Please, if you see me there, say what's up. I love meeting other wrestling fans and stuff at these shows. I believe our homie Cassidy Haynes will be there. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in person for the first time in a while. Get to see Mose, our buddy John Mosley, over on commentary. I'm hoping he's on commentary for this match too. I would love for that to be the case. But yeah, I wanted to highlight real quick. Los Macizos is defending the GCW tag team titles against Violence is Forever. VIF is a team that I'm a very, very big fan of. We've interviewed both Dominic Garrini and Kevin Koo here on this show. And Koo and Garrini are very important to Southern Underground Pro, which is a company that was really important to keeping me tapped into the indies in Nashville and kind of helped me out with my podcasting early on. Kevin Koo is one of the first indie wrestlers I ever interviewed years and years back. And I very much want to see them win the GCW tag team titles. This is really the one set of indie titles that they have not held that really means something big. They've been champions really everywhere else. They've been the face of the IWTV whole universe for a long time, and all those title belts with all those different companies they work for, and DPW and everything they're doing. They're killing it everywhere. But the one place that's kind of eluded them has been Game Changer Wrestling, and now that they're more involved there. They had a match with Macizos recently where they didn't win the titles, and I was really bummed about it. This was just a couple weeks ago, and I was really bummed about it. I was like, damn it, they should have went all the way with VIF. And then I realized they were booking the rematch for Atlanta, and I'm like, okay, if they're going to make the title change, Atlanta would be the place because they're synonymous with companies like Action Wrestling and stuff. There's going to be a lot of people that watch them in Georgia often, in the Southeast often, that'll be at that Center Stage show. So I think it's going to happen. That's my hope. I think my prediction, I Violence is Forever becoming the new GCW tag team champions this Saturday at Center Stage. I love Los Macizos. They're probably the best tag team in GCW history, on paper, accomplishments wise. And so VIF to beat them for the title is even more special. And if they win, I don't know where I'll be seated in this building, but I think y'all will probably be hearing me or maybe seeing me. I will be cheering loudly for VIF if they win these titles. So shout out to Dominic Green and Kevin Koo. I'm pulling for y'all. This has been a long time coming. They haven't done a whole lot in GCW yet. They've really only been regulars in GCW for the last handful of months. But they've been pushed really well, and GCW's made them a really big deal really quickly. And they've had this little mini feud with Macizos up at this point. The time is now. Brett Lauderdale, if you're hearing this, VIF for GCW tag team champions this Saturday, Center Stage, Atlanta, Georgia.
Gotta VIF finish the story.
Yes, do it. I'm going to try to remember where my Sad Conf t-shirt, which was the name of Violence is Forever before they were known as Violence is Forever. So I'm gonna go real old school with it and show my loyalty and dedication to this team on Saturday. So
there you go. All right, Jensen, I know you got to run. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
I do. Got to go clock in for the shoot job. Already 3 minutes late. I'm sure my boss is going to love that. Although I'm already working overtime for you. So if you see this, I'm already working an extra hour for you.
Yeah,
so
call them out.
I'm about to be there. I already worked an extra hour for you yesterday. I'm working 2 extra hours for you next week. And then I'm taking a bunch of time off. I'm going to go to the casino for my dad's birthday next week. Looking forward to that. Please make sure to follow me on Twitter or X at FightTalk _ FIGHTTALK _ Use code FightTalk on independentwrestling.tv. You can subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. Listen to the Weekender podcast over there. And please hit the thumbs up, the like button here on Fightful. Please subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, it's awesome with the graphics. And I hope you enjoyed this interview with me, Jeremy, and Andrew Zarian that you're about to hear. And yeah, hope everyone has a great rest of your day, great weekend. Skull Vikings, new quarterback swag going on this weekend. Still got a shot at the playoffs. And yeah, I'm going to clock in for work. good seeing you, Jeremy. Good seeing the chat, and y'all have a good day.
Thanks, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good luck with the shoot job. Have fun this weekend at GCW, and you'll see Jensen next week on the show.
Yes, if you're at GCW in Atlanta, come say hi. I would love to meet y'all. Skol Vikings.
There you go. All right, let's get into it. Our creator spotlight with the great Andrew Zarian. He's been in the chat. You've seen him in the chat. You've seen him on In the Weeds. He's there every week. He'll probably be there tomorrow, giving his conspiracy theory on In the Weeds. You know him from Wrestling Observer, from Mattman on Twitter, dropping some scoops. Wherever you see Andrew Zarian, you know you love Andrew Zarian. He was gracious to join us this past week on Halloween. His Halloween costume was the gun show because he had his cut off tank top and everything, rocking the guns. We appreciate Andrew Zarian. He's a very fun interview. If you don't know Andrew Zarian, if you only know him from like the media scoops and things like that, you get to know more about his background and how he got started in podcasting and his wrestling fandom. So again, if you only know Andrew Zarian from kind of his appearances on our shows, get to know more about Andrew Zarian with this interview here. I got to key it up. I did not key it up to start the show. So here we go. Creator Spotlight with Andrew Zarian. Welcome back, everyone, to the Creator Spotlight. I'm still Jeremy Lambert. That's still Stephen Jensen. And below us is a face, a name, a person you've seen on this channel plenty of times. He's been in the chat. He hacks the In the Weeds stream every single week. You know him from Mattman on Wrestling Observer. It's Andrew Zarian. Zarian, how you doing, pal?
Dude, I'm in my 1996 X-Pac best right now.
I was saying, you got the guns. Me and Jensen we're very covered up here. It's cold in Ohio. I assume it's cold in New York, but it doesn't matter. Zarian's still out there with the cut off tank there.
Well, I was Mario. We went out trick-or-treating. This is taking place on Halloween, right? So we went trick-or-treating. I took the kids. My wife was Luigi, and I had this underneath. So I just took the shirt off. And I was like, I kind of, I'm digging this. I'm digging the one overall. Very retro, very 90s, what we grew up with. But guys, I'm thrilled to be here.
I know it only took a month to get this settled down.
Well, there was that Tuesday show that kind of ruined the first one, and then my whole life went into shambles after that, so I couldn't commit. But here we are.
There was that, and then you pop up on In the Weeds, and Jensen's like, "So you guys had Zarian on In the Weeds, do an interview with him." I'm like, Zarian just shows up on our show every single week. It's not an official interview with him. We don't have him on to talk about anything. He hacks the stream. He's got his own segment.
I got my own segment now. Yeah, I got my own segment. I get in there. I always did because I love Joel. Okay, I absolutely love him. He's such a sweet boy. Really good one. No, I'm the one. I know. And then now, like I don't come on for him anymore. I come on for you, and I think the same thing's going to happen with Jensen. I'm just going to show up for him. I'm not even going to show up for you anymore.
That's fair.
That's probably exactly what's going to happen, Andrew. Actually, that tends to happen quite a bit with these interviews. So, no, I'm just playing. But we appreciate having you on. Like it has been like a month in the making. So, and we always appreciate seeing you in the chat too. Like whenever you're in there, like talking during our live show, that people are watching this. We pre-record these interviews, obviously, but we have the live, hour and a half beforehand. So you may even see Andrew in here before this interview, potentially, if he's in the live chat. So a regular kind of part of our community here on the Spotlight, which we really, really appreciate, man. So it's great to have you as a guest. So we wanted you on here for a while anyways, but then once we realized you were actually watching the show too, it was like, got to get you on, dude.
Yeah, dude. Listen, when I started off doing this, right, the podcasting thing, I was really big into the community aspect. And you guys have such a huge community at Fightful. I mean, really, it's the best that I've seen, really, with the engagement and how everybody's kind of intertwined and everybody works together. And, I'm part of a smaller operation. Mattman is just my team. And an Observer is a very different type of demo, I would say. Not that it's bad. It's just a very different demo. So I love going into the Fightful chat and seeing everybody. Kate's in there, you're in there. Everybody kind of supports everybody, which I absolutely love. And, I jump in and I kind of participate in the fun too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I wanted to kind of start off there, because obviously I know you do stuff within the weeds. You're on there all the time, and talking about other stuff. But we want to talk about you today here on the interview. And Mattman, like, how did that all get started? Like, how did it become? What it became? Because I was in like y'all's like Facebook groups and stuff, like checking the show out like years back, and then it's kind of cool how like to see all the success the show's had, in all the years since then, and where you're at now and everything. So how did that all get started, and kind of when you linked up with like Figure 4 wrestling and all that stuff?
Yeah, I never planned on having this bizarre wrestling career. It's something I've always loved since I was a kid. And my thing was, my background was in IT and technology. So when I got laid off when the recession happened in 2008, and I was doing IT work, and I had sold my business. I was a serial business opener, and I had sold all my businesses, and I took the money, I put it aside, and I was working for a Japanese staple company as their IT guy. Okay, it's a very big company, and I got laid off. It was a great gig. I got laid off, and I'm like, I got a couple bucks in the bank. What do I really want to do? And my buddy was a stand-up comic. His name is Kunal Arora. People, he has a very successful podcast. And he was like, hey, why don't we do a podcast together? And we called The Guys from Queens. And it was just, two, jerks from the neighborhood just talking about whatever, And that kind of spun into something. There was a unique opportunity for me to stream live on Stickam, which was my first, I was making money on
that site. Wow.
Yeah. That's how I started. And there was a show that was a technology-based show that was leaving Stickam, and they needed to replace it. So they asked me if I would do it, and they gave me front page features and everything. And they were like, hey, can you do more shows? Because nobody was doing a radio level. We were doing high def years ago. And I found that was my niche, where if I make everything look good, it'll mask the fact that I'm terrible at what I was doing at that point. Just people tolerate looking at you a little bit more if it looks better. So we started doing that, and we added like 15 shows, and then we would add more shows, remove more shows, and see what would happen. And when I was talking to Rich wanted to do a comic book show for us, my co-host on Mat Men, and every time we would do the comic show, I wasn't hosting. It was him and his buddy, and I was just producing. We would just talk about wrestling for like 30 minutes before the show started. This is back in 2011, and like late 2011, we're like, hey, why don't we start a show? Why don't we talk about wrestling? And we started doing the wrestling show like January 2012, November 2011, something like that. And it was just to talk wrestling. It was no like scoops or anything. We would watch the show and then talk about the show. And sometimes we would have a segment where we talked about like old stuff that we like. I don't know how or when it happened. I think around like 2016, it kind of, the wheels started going a little bit. And, the rest was just growth from there.
That's awesome. So obviously you were a massive wrestling fan, and to just like be striking up these conversations with other people about wrestling, to even like, I love meeting other wrestling fans, like for that reason, especially because you're like, it's like unlocking like a code or something. You're like, oh, okay, I can immediately relate to this person. I have something in common, and we can talk about it. And then you start realizing like sometimes you come across someone, you're like, oh wow, they're like really into it also. They're talking about like this or that. Like they're like a real hardcore fan. How long had you watched wrestling, like to even up to that point? And then like how cool is it for you to find someone else who like you could do this with?
I probably as my father was a big fan. My grandfather was a fan. My grandfather was a pro bodybuilder. And he would, he would come to the States. He worked for the Kennedy administration. So he'd come to the States, and he would go to like, whatever was in Manhattan, a big gym. And he ran into Bruno, and he became friendly with Bruno. Wow. And that was like the thing for my dad, because my dad idolized Bruno and superstar Billy Graham. And, that was the era that he watched wrestling. So my father embedded the wrestling to me. My grandfather embedded the facts, like my grandfather was a bodybuilder, my dad was a bodybuilder. So it was kind of like in me a little bit, but it was my childhood, I would say, and Rich always laughs about this. I was at the Garden SummerSlam 91. That Bret Hart match, I became a huge Bret Hart fan when him and Perfect had that unbelievable SummerSlam match. That was really the thing that like got me obsessed with wrestling. I mean, I liked Hogan, I liked Warrior, but it was probably SummerSlam 91 that just changed the whole trajectory of wrestling for me.
I was going to ask favorite wrestlers growing up. I was hoping you were going to go somebody, Hogan, Lex Luger, the body guys, but Bret Hart, not a body guy.
No, I got, it's funny. My wife sometimes like we'll take a little edible, and like her like spidey senses go off, and she wants to know more about wrestling. She's like, who was your favorite when you were like a kid? I was like, obviously Hogan and Warrior, like the big guys, but like to me, it was always Bret, like 93 on. It was like Bret Hart's the greatest wrestler ever. And I think that's kind of why I like the style that I like. But it was, it was the 80s and 90s. Like you everything was big and bad, and everybody was jacked up. Cartoons were jacked up. It was, USA, and you kind of fall into that, and sometimes people lose it, and then the Attitude Era happened, and it, once again, it perked up everybody, and everybody got back into it.
Do I even need to ask the Bret Shawn question? Because did you even like Shawn?
Yes. I liked Shawn. I didn't like Shawn in the Rockers. I was a Marty Jannetty fan. I picked the wrong horse in that race.
I think Shawn
as I always do.
Also was. I think Shawn talked about that. I think Shawn Ross Sapp was a Jannetty guy. He was like a proud Jannetty guy.
I was a huge Jannetty guy. And then when Shawn turned on him, I kind of liked that Shawn was a bad guy. Like he was a jerk, and I liked it. But there's a great story. I was watching, I talk about this all the time. I was watching Superstars, and Shawn Michaels comes out, and he's wearing the glasses and everything. And my mom went and got those glasses. I kept asking her to buy those glasses. So she went and bought me John Lennon glasses. That's what she called it, from Macy's. And she's having her friends over for like coffee on a Saturday morning, and I'm dancing on the couch, and I'm screaming, "I'm a sexy boy," over and over again. She was very concerned with my behavior, I'm going to tell you. So I was a Shawn guy too, but really was Bret for like the longest.
How did Matt Men kind of get linked up with the Observer stuff then?
Brian and I got really friendly. Like nothing with wrestling. All we would talk about was radio equipment, because I started a company called the International Association of Internet Broadcasters a little too early in the podcasting game. It wasn't refined to the point that we are now. So like I said, I think I started talking to Brian like 2011 about microphones and technology, and I interviewed him. I had a spotlight. It was called the IIB Spotlight. Funny, we're doing this now, right? And we were just talking about just radio and how he got him started in broadcasting. And I was a huge IATA fan. I would listen to the Observer 99, 2000, 2001 on IATA, probably 2000, 2001 on IATA. And he was shocked that I knew what it was. And I used to record him on cassette. And we just like connected on that. And I don't know how it happened. He had me on one time, and there was another network that was trying to get me to bring Matt Men over. So I just reached out to Brian. I'm like, hey, these guys are trying to get me to go over there, but I'd love to do it with you. And he's like, 100%. When do you want to start? And that was it. And then we did Matt Men for like a week, and he's like, hey, you want to do Sundays on the Observer? I'm like, hell yeah. It's something I listened to when I was 16 years old, and now I'm hosting it on Sundays, which it tickles me. It really, I'm very appreciative of this whole thing with wrestling. I always wanted to do technology. That was my thing. My tech podcast was very successful, probably more than anything I did in wrestling at the time. But it wasn't something I was as passionate about. And doing, getting into wrestling and doing this has become just a bizarre aspect of my bizarre life, really.
I find it very funny that you and Brian first started talking about like radio equipment and stuff, because I've been listening to kind of like the Figure 4 dailies and that stuff for a very long time. And like Brian is always very, I don't want to use the term anal, but
oh no,
kind of
he
like,
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could say it.
Yeah. Like, he's a psychopath with audio. So am
yes,
I.
He talks about it all the time. And I'm, this is when I was in like high school and everything, because he's been doing that show for a very long time. And like he talked about, it's like, I don't care about, and I'm very much the same way. It's like, I don't care so much about the audio side of things. That's what Joel is here for me. Joel cares about that stuff. It's like, I just like doing the shows and everything. So it's very funny to me that like, that's how you guys linked up with that, and that you just started talking about that. Cause I know Brian takes that very serious, and I've never had a conversation with Brian. This is just what I know based on the shows I've listened to over the years. So that's very funny that that's how you guys really got to start talking about things, because I know he takes that very serious.
Yeah, he was very impressed by my console that I have here, and I was using I'm going to get geeky, a Neumann TLM 103, same mic as him. So we got really into that groove of talking about technology with radio and broadcasting equipment, and it was just, that's all we spoke about. We never spoke about wrestling ever. Like there was never one moment until I started working with them. That's when we started talking wrestling. Same thing with Stevie Richards. Stevie and I did a tech podcast together, and his co-host and I are best friends now because we never. I still to this day I never talk wrestling with Stevie. It is a rarity. It's always computers or laptops or something like that. It just wrestling was always around me, and I finally was like, hey, let's do it. Let's do something with wrestling.
Are you behind Stevie Richards' YouTube channel? Because him, Maven, and Fuego now have like the YouTube game on lock, and it's
dude,
upsetting.
He's killing it. Yeah, Stevie's killing it. I love it. Use his shoot name, Michael. He really, he actually for wrestling, he's one of the first people that smartened me up to things. Just like little stuff here and there, and I always appreciate it. But he was always great to me, and we helped each other out with the podcasting stuff. It's just interesting relationships you make with people.
What do you find the kind of biggest differences between doing Mat Men and doing Wrestling Observer Live?
Mat Men is really inappropriate sometimes. We really push the boundaries. I always look at it as it's two guys at a bar talking about wrestling, and they're around their friends. That's how I see it. We're gonna have off-collar jokes. It's fine. It's what the tone is. If this is the show that we do, we're not hurting anybody. We're not going too beyond. But it's a fun show. It's a wacky morning show. That's how I see it. Observer Live is really straightforward. That's a very no-nonsense audience. They want to know my thoughts on wrestling. They want to know the news. They want to know the scoops. So I separate the two totally. I see it as two totally different types of presentations.
Being so into technology, is there like any type of technology that you would want to see implemented more like into wrestling, whether it's like the production or like even into like podcasting or like live streaming that you like maybe think about often or think is maybe like underutilized, or maybe something you might be seeing like maybe in the future that might be like cool, like to like implement it into wrestling?
Man, I really want WWE to run the Sphere in Vegas.
Oh yeah. I drove past that like a year ago. Yeah, that's cool.
It is stunning. It is a stunning building. I'm hoping to get in there probably within the next couple months to see maybe U2 or something, whatever they're doing. But I want to see something different like that. I'd like to see wrestling shot a little bit different, rather than the traditional. You got the hard shot and you got the 4 cameras or 3 cameras, whatever you're doing. I think technology hasn't caught up. Wrestling hasn't caught up to technology, or technology hasn't caught up to wrestling. We're talking about streaming rights and things like that for WWE, if they're going to be on Amazon or they're going to stream Raw. It's not there yet, but I want to see more accessibility digitally rather than having to be locked down to a provider. But they are doing some cool stuff. WWE's doing some really cool stuff with the graphics. They're really far ahead. AEW, I wish they did better lighting. I missed them lighting the crowd with the spotlights, like the purple lights and the blue lights that they were doing. Now it's more like an arena shot. I send production notes to some people in AEW. I don't hear back ever because they probably get annoyed with me. So, it's just little things like that.
Nice. I like that.
The drone shot that WWE did for Puerto Rico.
Very cool.
I would like to see that a little bit more. And that's something that they can clearly do. I don't know if they're going to ever do something like that again, but something like that would be really fun if they would break that out a little bit more. They need more of the big Roman Reigns, big dog, AR nonsense that they have going on as well.
Do you remember they were trying to do an augmented reality thing with the headsets, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
I think everybody at one point was fantasizing on how to monetize that augmented reality, that virtual reality thing where you put on a headset, you pay them and you're front row at the show.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's failed. It doesn't. I think the problem is putting that thing on for 4.5 hours and your eyes kind of get one's looking left and the other one's looking down by the end of the day.
Yeah. I think you're totally right about that. I think also like this is a rabbit hole we don't need to go down, but I think like the augmented reality there's so much they can do with that in wrestling. If they wanted to like do like hologram matches and stuff, like you can put so much stuff together, like the fans I think would want to see. Like that you have like all these dream matches like in the video games, but it would look like real matches. Like there's just so much in the future.
Dude, we're not getting a dream match. We're not getting a dream match. We're gonna get Hogan and Andre over and over again. Yeah. That's all we're gonna get.
Yeah, fair. Another kind of, this is kind of a random question. Now that I know that you're so into bodybuilding, is there any bodybuilder that like you wish would have gotten into wrestling or become like a bigger wrestling star like from that world that you think like could have translated over?
You know, Ferrigno could have done it. You know, I think they wanted to do something with when they did the World Bodybuilding Federation. I know that they were. Do you know the whole story with him where he was supposed to be like the main guy there, and they started doing steroid? He got afraid of the steroid testing, so he backed out.
This is for like McMahon's.
Yeah, McMahon's bodybuilding. Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. So Ferrigno was supposed. I know Lex Luger was supposed to be a part of that.
Lex was supposed to be part of it. Yeah, Ferrigno was originally supposed to be part of it also, and he pulled out because he got freaked out that he may get popped for whatever.
Wow.
And it would have ruined his career. You know, Ferrigno was always one. Arnold was another one, dude. Like Arnold could have been that guy.
Dude, I think if times were different, he would have been. Like if it was the times we have now where celebrities like Logan Paul and Bad Bunny and stuff like get involved as like to like the degree that they do nowadays as celebrities on the show. Because like Arnold loved wrestling, like loves wrestling, I should say. Like he'd been a part of shows and stuff. I always thought like someone like Kai Green would have been like really interesting to see in pro wrestling. Someone that's just massive, who's like an artist who does street performances and stuff. I think he would have translated really well.
What is Gary Stridham, right? Wasn't that Vince's guy? Gary Stridham. Wow, look at the striations.
that's oh man, that's great.
You guys have lost me on the bodybuilding talk. All right, I'm out of my element.
I don't know a ton about it, but I've seen some pretty good documentaries on some of these guys. A lot of these guys they're really fascinating. Like,
Pumping iron. My father was a big time bodybuilder. I mean, my father's my size, but at his peak, he was probably like 225, like cut, like crazy jacked. And we would watch Pumping Iron all the time. And he had Arnold's books. He had such a dedicated diet for all the. I mean, he's 70 years old, but he's like still jacked for like a 70-year-old. But you know, he's shrinking. He's becoming an old man. But to me, it was such a big part of it, you know, like Frank Zane and how ridiculous he was for his size. He was 5'9". He was huge. Franco Columbo, he was 5'5", and this guy was Arnold's best friend, totally jacked up. You know, different era, different time. Like these guys were 1970s, 1980s. I got out of the bodybuilding stuff when everybody started looking like a jacked up cow, you know?
Sure.
The steroids got the anabolics got too out of control.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's unfortunate because a lot of those guys like health problems later on and stuff, which you know, it is what it is. The price, I guess, a lot of those guys pay to look like that for a little while, but some of those guys, I mean, anyway, that's a whole other rabbit hole. That it's fascinating that a human being can get as large as those people get. Like it doesn't even seem real.
It's wild to me.
And I understand that Vince, like that was always Vince's thing. Like if he could get that was like the dream, was get a whole roster of those. But then there's a lot of problems that come along with that too.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gary, what's your next question?
I was gonna say, do you send production notes to the Impact people? Because Joel is always railing against Impact.
No, I generally do WWE and AEW. I don't ever hear back from them though.
Hey, I'm excited because Impact's supposed to be up in their production pretty big, it sounds like. So we'll see what that all looks like. TNA.
TNA.
And what were your thoughts on the return of TNA?
You know, I think we were talking about it on the show on In the Weeds. I think it's great. You know, enough time has passed that the WCW stink is off of it at this point. I always felt that was the big problem with it. I mean, obviously, listen, bad booking, bad decision making, sure, but the time 2002 was not a great time for, you know, impactful, lack of a better term, creative. You know, so I think a lot of that has changed. People now remember the good of Impact and TNA. You know, a lot of the bad is not really highlighted. You know, when I think of TNA, I'm thinking about AJ Styles, Chris Daniels, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, that tremendous run he had there. You know, that later Impact stuff, I don't really think about it as much anymore because I think enough time has passed where you don't think about the bad, you think about the positive. Same thing with WCW. When people talk about WCW now, they talk about 96, 97, 98.
Right.
You know, because that's what you want to watch. That's what you watch on repeat. You don't watch the old stuff on repeat. You watch the good stuff. So I think enough time has gone where people have reconditioned their mind as to what the brand means. So I think it's a positive, you know, and who was it? Who did the interview? They said, like, we go wherever we go, people are chanting TNA, so might as well. Oh, Scott D'Amore, right?
D'Amore, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that makes the most sense. If people are chanting something, why wouldn't you change your name to that?
I mean, a lot of us have accidentally been calling it TNA, like, on and off this entire time.
I never stopped.
Yeah. So I think, I'm with you.
Yeah, my biggest thing was always I hated that it's Impact Wrestling. Impact is also the TV show, so I get very confused. So I like it's TNA Wrestling Impact. I much prefer.
You know what it's almost like, dude? You know when, like, your mom's like, what are you watching? WWE? What are you watching? WWF?
Oh,
That's
right.
what it is. Like, they just named the show WWF.
Yeah, yes. Always confusing when I have to write it. So I'm very happy for this change. I'm going to throw it and tie it to your shirt now in Monday Night Wars. Did you have a favorite NWO member?
Oh, it has to be X-Pac, right?
It doesn't have to be X-Pac.
No.
It could be.
My favorite NWO member, dude, Hogan was great. That ridiculous human being, heel Hogan, is even more ridiculous than the yellow banana that he was. I thought it was so cool. Like, I remember doing the channel flipping 1996. Like, Razor Ramon is on, and he's dressed up like he's a normal person and not, you know, a Cuban drug dealer. It's unbelievable, you know.
How much of Hogan being cool was Voodoo Child though?
I never saw him as cool. Later on, like now, I see him as cool because it's so ridiculous. He's doing this thing. The best Hogan not uncool moment is when he looks at the camera and he goes, "Goldberg, I'm gonna kick your butt," and then he just walks off. You know, nothing was cool. Nothing he did was cool, but Voodoo Child added so much to it.
Oh, that's still. I was listening to Nash's podcast, and when he's talking about, like, you hear Cult of Personality, you think CM Punk, you hear Voodoo Child, like, you hear Hogan. Like, there's a car commercial that plays Voodoo Child, and I'm always like, "Where's Hulkster? Are we watching?"
Do you do the new world order in your head every time you hear
sometimes
it? That song is ruined because of that.
Yeah, it. Well, look, man, Voodoo Child's still an all time great song. Not you know, take it away from wrestling. It's just an all time great song.
Slaps.
It does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does.
Yeah, now I'm thinking about WCW. Those were great times. I love WCW. One of my favorite Hogan moments was actually him losing to Lex Luger on Nitro when he lost the title, and was 97 on Nitro.
Yeah, and that crowd reacted in such an insane way.
That was so great. I still remember watching that. I was in elementary school at the time. That was awesome. Who were some of your favorite? Like, I don't know if you like to show bias or not, like currently, but like, who are some of your favorite wrestlers like right now that you're seeing?
Danielson. He's probably my favorite style. Kenny, you know, if we're talking AEW, Andrade, I love. I'm a huge Danhausen fan.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Macabre, so I actually have my Danhausen figure there. WWE wise, I mean, there's so many on that side. Seth is doing fantastic stuff. LA Knight is doing fantastic stuff. Roman is probably gonna go down the next 20 years as probably the greatest wrestler they've ever had. There's so much good talent out there, and everybody's so different now. You know, you're not just the guy in your underwear going out there, having a 5-minute match and then leaving. You know, there's so much more character development, which I absolutely love. It's such a huge part of it now, where you develop the character, you develop what you're going to do, your whole look. It's not as simple as it used to be.
Yeah. Now sorry, Jeremy, just 1 second. I see you open your mouth there. You strangely omitted the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes from your list.
I love it. Yeah, Cody's great. Cody's great. Nothing against Cody. He's great.
My next question, what do you think if you had to call it right now, what's the WrestleMania 40 main event, and who walks out of that thing with the main championship, the undisputed championship?
I want to say Rock Roman. That should be the main event. I don't know if that's going to happen, but why are you laughing, Jeremy?
Jensen's the biggest Cody fan.
Are you? I thought, you know, my kids met Cody, and my kids have become such Cody fans. We did the VIP meet and greet for them at the Garden, and they had no idea. And all of a sudden, Cody comes in, and he's like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And they died. My son tells everybody, "I met Cody. Nobody believes him. He has to show a picture for at a family event." What a pro! Great. It's rare. Those guys are really rare in any business, in basket, in any sport. He is so committed to the crowd, to the audience, to the fans, which really goes a long way. I want to see him win the title. Of course, we want everybody wants to see him do that. It's Dusty's unfinished story. They've told it 1,000 times. He cries every week on TV. I want to stop crying.
Yes, I'm with you. See, that's why I asked you the question, is because that's kind of going to be the big thing between now and WrestleMania is The Rock going to be involved? And if he is, of course, he's going to get the match with Roman. You've got to do that if it's available for so many reasons. But as a Cody fan, I'm sitting here after last year. I'm like, okay, it's okay. I got one more year and it's going to just one more year. I got to get through. He's going to win it. And now it's like, well, maybe not if all this other stuff's going to happen. So, and then LA Knight, I mean, I get the guy's very, very popular right now. What would you say percentage-wise would you give his chance of winning the championship?
0.
Okay,
0.
I like that answer.
Listen, I love him. I got to tell you, I like the Eli Drake character. I like that there's a touch of The Rock and there's a touch of Steve Austin. When I see him on TV, I connect to it because I'm so familiar with those characters, right?
Sure.
When I was at the Garden in December, no, was it December? It was March. I forgot what it was. March. That crowd erupted for him, and it was all 8-year-old to teenage boys. They went nuts. Oh, he was supposed to have the match with The Fiend with Bray, and remember, Bray wasn't there for that. And the crowd just erupted for him. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. That's the first time I heard that. Then I went to SmackDown at the Garden in July, and it was bigger than ever. So there's something there organically without him even being presented on TV. It's happening. Do you put a world title on him? I don't know. Do you put a title on him? Yeah, I definitely think a U.S. title. Him and Logan Paul could have a great U.S. title match, and he gets that title, and he could become a long-term U.S. champion, and that's his mark on that title.
Are you excited for the LA Knight Logan Paul? Is that acceptable, Jensen?
Yeah, I'd be fine. I'm totally good with that. I actually love that.
Are you not an LA Knight fan?
No. No. Listen. I'm not. It isn't that I don't dislike him, like the human being behind LA Knight. I'm a bit confused by the popularity, but part of it is because I've watched him for so long as well, through Impact and NWA and everything. And it's after 20 years, this is over now. It's been doing this entire time. But I do give him a ton of credit though for you can't knock somebody for getting the reactions he's getting right now. And I don't knock the WWE for going with that. I totally understand. And it's great for WWE to have more people at the top. They need that. It can't just be Roman. You got to have more people up there. So I get it. But I like your predictions for Crown Jewel. So
I have a question for you, Zarian, because you
were.
I'm an
open book.
I don't know if I want to call you a scoopster. Do you take offense to that term?
No. I am a little bit of a scoopster.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But I have you. I don't know if there's tiers or whatever, but there's Dave, Sean, and kind of Mike Johnson are very much they know everything about everything. They're also very not so much Mike, but Sean and Dave certainly very online. You know a lot about a lot, and you're online, but you're not always engaging with a lot of this stuff. You're very smart in that sense. What just propels you to stay away from a lot of this nonsense and a lot of this discourse? Because the big thing is now the Collision ratings came out today.
Oh, what was it? I didn't even see it today.
I didn't see it either. I legitimately don't. I think it was under 500,000. And of course, everybody's like, oh, they gave away Omega and MJF and it's under 500,000. This is the big discourse thing.
Okay.
Why do you just have the smartness to just stay out of all of this as someone who breaks news and knows, again, is really, I don't want to use the term in the weeds, but is inside with a lot of this stuff?
So with the scoops, I'll say I sit on a ton. I don't generally I think it's pretty public, right? I talk to a lot of talent, but I don't necessarily go based on the talent's information for anything. I don't have that deep relationship that Sean does. Sean has a deep relationship with a lot of talent. With Dave, this is what they do. They're journalists and the best at what they're doing. Mike Johnson too. You know, I would put those three are probably. You know, Wade Keller too. He breaks some stories too.
I think
I don't want. I'm not knocking anybody.
Yeah.
If I'm omitting somebody, I don't. I'm one of the people. I don't knock anybody that does this. I don't make a living with wrestling, so I have no no fight in me for this. Like, I don't no reason to engage with the negativity. I also have a really busy real job. Now, this is not for me. It's a real job because I don't monetize this as I should. But I have no time to argue with anybody. Like, what are we arguing over? It's for like the TV show. It's make believe. I know people are into it. Oh, I'm really passionate, but I'm passionate to the positives, not the negatives. I have a negative around me, my real life, my real job that I have to deal with. I do this for therapy. I do this because it's exciting for me. I enjoy doing it. I have rules that I've set. I won't ruin somebody's career. I don't talk about health. I don't talk about tragedy. Bray Wyatt comes to mind. Not my, this isn't for me to do. If you cover professional wrestling as your career, and it's a very difficult thing to do to even go near this conversation, and you have to because it's your job, and your job is sometimes difficult. It's not my job, and I don't want it to be difficult. I decide what I'm going to talk about. If it's going to hurt anybody, like, Tony has a contract coming up, right? WWE has a contract coming up. I hear a lot of the chatter about this. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it's not my job to go and report the bad. I want to report positivity. I want to report something that I want to engage with. If it's a negative thing, I don't want to engage with it. I got burned a couple times, I got to tell you. And that was enough of a lesson early on for me to not do it. I got burnt by some criticism about Tony that I thought I did a good job with reporting it, that I was being clear that this wasn't my opinion. But people are idiots on the internet, and they like to put your voice because you're reporting it. So you're automatically the villain here because you're always going to be the bad guy. Either you like something or you don't. So I learned from them. I also have zero interest in engaging in an argument with anybody on the internet. It means it is the worst thing to do. It's toxic. You fall down a vortex, then you end up responding to everybody. I got the negativity. People message me like, how come you're reporting this, but you don't report this side? And my answer is because I didn't feel like reporting the other thing. Because I don't report. That's not my job. I'm sitting on something pretty interesting right now that I'm not going to talk about. I'll tell you that. See, and I do that, and that upsets people. And that upsets people. That
DM me
upsets
the
a lot of
scoop
people.
so I can pre-write the story, Zarian. Just send all this stuff to me. I don't care if anybody else gets it.
Is it like the time I gave the ratings for that collision?
That was hilarious.
And I got a message from somebody.
Wait, what? You got it. Oh, wait. I don't know if you can tell that.
No. I'll let Zarian tell that side of it. But
yeah, I was on with Jeremy and Joel, and I was like, oh, you guys want the collision numbers? It was an early number. It wasn't a fast national, but it was like a preliminary number. And I said the number. I forgot what it was. It was like 800,000 or whatever it was, right? And I got a message from somebody. They're like, hey, the Warner office is closed. I don't want to listen to some podcast to get this. Can you just give me the number?
Yeah, Zarian was on our show. He's like, you want this? And he gave it. And then, look, our show does what it does. And I was like, well, I know how I can boost our show because Zarian gave this. And so I posted this on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then it went, and then like Reddit, picked it up, of course. And it's like, Andrew Zarian was on this show. I was like, you know what? Hey, if you're going to come on, you're going to give us a scoop on our show. I'm going to try to get what we can.
No, like I give stuff all the time. Like sometimes, if I'm doing Mat Men, right? And if it's a serious thing and like Rich hates numbers, Rich doesn't want to talk about ratings, and I get it. That's not our show. So I call in on Thursday, I get on the bat line and I get on in the weeds and I'm like, hey, you want this? And then it becomes a conversation somewhere else. I'm big into sharing. I talk to Sean, I'll go back and forth trying to confirm stuff. Nick Houseman, I go back. I was just talking to him about something. Dave, Brian, I like to help everybody with this. If I have something that, I'm not doing it for clout. I don't need 150,000 followers on Twitter. I kind of like having my little bubble of people, and that's how I do it. It's fun for me.
Yeah, I was just saying, that's super relatable, by the way. Like, I think I try to keep that same mindset myself. Like, I don't engage with it. Like, there's no point in arguing with people over the internet, especially because it's like no one's going to wind up winning, and everyone just winds up yelling over each other, and like nothing ever gets accomplished. And
the other thing is, we don't really know each other on the internet. Like, these people that want to like tell me, F off, they don't know who I am. They don't know how I am. They're going based on a tweet or maybe something I said on the show. They're taking a 30-second clip of something and deciding that my whole character is built on that. I'm not going to, I have enough sense in me to not waste 2 hours arguing with some idiot that doesn't like my take on AEW or WWE. I mean, I get what was so eye-opening was when I started reporting positive stuff for WWE. I got, Observer guys, all those guys. Andrew's a WWE shill.
Right.
I watch.
Right.
If I was gonna say one product that I watch the least, it's WWE at this point. It's not, it's more cartoonish. I like the good stuff for sure. I watch it with my kids, and that's probably the main reason why I continue watching it or I go to shows. But it's not necessarily the wrestling that I like. I could watch New Japan all freaking day long. I could watch Impact. I could watch, I'm a big house show guy. I like going to house shows. I could talk about house shows. I'm not a big Raw guy, but I'm not going to crap on it because it's not my preferred show. I'm able to separate myself from my own opinion of the product and talk about it because people still want me to talk about it. I find the internet discourse so interesting with this because it doesn't really exist anywhere else. Like NCIS and Criminal Minds, right?
Right.
Sure. I don't know. I'm adding.
No, I know exactly
genre.
what I get it. Sure.
You don't have like, F Criminal Minds or like Law and Order. Like, Mariska Hargitay sucks now in season 20. I wish they brought so and so back, but that's why I watched this one. That doesn't happen on anything.
Well, did they not like debate like seasons of like, this show fell off a cliff after?
Sure,
season?
Sure, but they're not comparing it to like another show.
Right. Right.
It's interesting. I find it all fascinating. Maybe that was not the best analogy, but
I'm on NBA Twitter.
Okay, and how does that work?
Everybody sucks basically. Like your player on your team sucks. Even if you're a fan of that team, they still suck. But basketball is obviously much different than wrestling because wrestling, the numbers people want to use are, star ratings or ratings or whatever. Basketball, you have like points and averages and all this stuff to say, hey, this guy's good, this guy's kind of bad. But I do think basketball Twitter will lean a little bit kind of negative, but it leans negative in like a jokey way. The jokes fly.
But there's also something on the line with basketball because it's real. There's championships, there's money, there's gambling, which drives most of the discourse now.
Yeah.
It's a very I think what happened with wrestling and the discourse around wrestling is that the forums never died down. Those conversations that would happen on the forums just got even more amplified with Twitter. And before you would have, the same exact conversations happening about WCW and WWE, WCW and WWF on a message board. And now it's 140, 240 character tweet, and you're no longer in, a couple hundred people having a discussion. It's now tens of thousands of people having the same discussion, and most people are idiots. And that's the reality.
Yeah. And it is much more accessible because like I don't know about you guys, but like I was on the message boards back in the days, and like if you told your friends, I'm on a wrestling message board, it's like, oh well, you're a dork, like just please stop talking to me. Now it's like if you're on Twitter, okay, well everybody's on Twitter.
Dude, I had an E-Fed. Sure. I had an E-Fed.
Hell yeah, same.
Yeah.
Dude,
Dice Fed. If you weren't doing the Dice Fed, don't talk to me. Dice
I had
Fed
an E-Fed. Yeah. I was on the WrestleZone forums. I was on what was the other big one?
There's one on IGN I remember back in the day.
I never did the IGN one for
The
wrestling.
no DQ one was always big.
The no DQ
DQ
was
one.
big for a while, and they were some of the first, like Jeff Meacham and those guys were like doing like video Q&As back before like a lot of people were really like doing anything like that on the internet.
But I used to get issues of the Observer on news groups. That was my first. This had to have been like 95, 94.
Man.
I was a kid. I mean, I was 10. And I had an older cousin, and he was really into the Observer, and he showed me how to like get on a news group for wrestling. And I would get like all like and it was so wild. Like, you know, you're reading about this stuff like, oh, this incident happened. You're like, why? Why is that happening? I thought the good guys all get along, you know? It was like one of those. It was interesting times, but it's just gotten amplified now. I don't like to poo-poo on what people like. And I tell people that. I'm like, okay, so what's your issue with me enjoying what I like? Tell me what your issue is with that. And there's no answer to that.
Yeah, they just see it as a threat for some reason, which is weird. Like, it shouldn't be. My thing is, like, we talk about that all day, just this topic on, like, wrestling fans fighting each other, when at the end of the day, like, we should all be each other's, like, really best friends, because at the end of the day, like, we're all wrestling fans. We're already like niche enough as it is, like in our own little bubble. Like the fact that we're fighting each other over company stuff, it's very weird. But I think that wrestling, because it's quote unquote fake and predetermined, everyone gets these things in their head as fans of like their favorite wrestlers who they want to see getting pushed, their best ideas for storylines and all this stuff. And like when it doesn't turn out the way that they have it in their head, and then like their favorite wrestler goes to the company they don't like, or this or that happens, and now they're all congregated in one spot on Twitter. Before it was all spread out over these different message boards that were also incredibly niche. Yeah. So like, I think it's a combination of all of that. I think you're totally right about the message board kind of fighting everyone mentality, just all kind of coming together on Twitter as it is, you know, today, unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't get the journalists, right? People who cover wrestling media, like people within wrestling media arguing with each other. I don't get that at all. The way that I see it is that if I think you're a dirtbag, which there are tons of those, if I think you're just a crappy person, I'm not going to engage with you, because I don't do that regularly.
Right.
If I think you're a crap human being, I don't sit there and try to have a conversation with you. You don't exist in my universe. I think if we started looking at things a little bit that way, it would kind of eliminate a lot of the heartache that some people have.
I want all wrestling journalists to just feed me stories so I can just write the story, so I can pre-write everything. I don't care about leaking any of this stuff. I just want to be ahead when it comes.
Well, you might be disappointed with Tony's announcement tomorrow. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, give me this, Zarian. Tell me off air.
I'll tell you off air, because
I'm not. By the time this airs, it'll be
nobody's gonna see
late.
it.
It'll be the morning after. So.
Is it really?
Yeah,
so let's do this. I'm gonna do my best Karnak. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna do my car. So I'm dating myself now. I will say this quite possibly has to do with Toys for Tots, but I could be 100% wrong here, and I kind of want to see if I'm wrong.
Didn't they make that announcement?
Did they?
I thought that was the big thing before they did a Toys for Tots thing.
Okay, so I'm like 3 days behind then. Maybe it's about Wembley?
Yeah, it was AEW to donate over 1 million in Toys for Tots. This was October 10th. That was one of the big announcements.
It could be something with Wembley.
Okay. I mean, they've announced the return to Wembley. So.
Or maybe they're announcing that Flair signed a contract. I don't know.
Oh boy. That would be something.
It could be either one of those.
That would be something. I mean, he said he's going to be there till March anyway, so like we'll see. In people and listening to this now, the announcement has happened. By the time everyone,
the announcement has happened, and I have no idea what it is.
Jensen,
imagine it's the Max deal. They finally announce it.
They finally announced the Max deal. That'd be nice. You know, Tony, it's an important announcement. You know, you got to distinguish these things. There's huge, there's big, there's great, there's important, which is this one. So you never know what it's.
Well, the only reason why I'm saying Toys for Tots, he brought up the holiday season in his tweet.
Yeah, he did bring that up.
And I know that there was a conversation recently about that, about doing something.
And it might just be to piggyback off of that.
Maybe.
more Toys for Tots stuff. So it could just be another variation of
Yeah.
that, which is going to leave a lot of people disappointed, which, is going to how things go when it comes to this stuff. When you're going to hype important announcement, big announcement, people go crazy with their ideas. We saw it with Tony Khan as a gift for Sting, and people have all this speculation, and then it's Ric Flair, and it's like, I don't know about this gift. What are we doing here, Tony?
Yeah, Flair's Flair. I hope he doesn't wrestle.
Yeah,
I
think he really wants to.
I think he might.
Wants to.
I think.
I mean, you know what though? I have to tell you, I watched that first that match that he had. Like the first time I watched it, I'm like, I'm never watching this again. And then my father wanted to see it, so I put it on, and I was like, you know what? It wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Like as far as like my concern for Rick, not match, because obviously he didn't really do much, but maybe he wants to do it again. But he had that bad ankle injury; he could barely walk that day.
I keep saying Sting's final match could very well be him and Darby against Flair and Andrade. I keep saying that.
I'm into that. I'm okay with that. That's fine.
I'm okay with that too. If it's gonna be anything, I'm okay with that.
I don't think it's gonna be a singles match. I don't think you can run those guys in 2024 in a singles match.
Just Sting and Flair one-on-one now?
Yeah. I mean, we saw that in 2001 where they're both wearing shirts and everybody's like, ooh, this is bad. You're talking 2 decades later to try to run that? No. So I think it'll be a tag match if they do it. I don't know if they will. So.
Listen, you know what though? If Flair's on the apron and he gets the hot tag and he comes in and does his thing and a couple chops and a couple woos and maybe he takes one terrible looking backdrop, I think people will be happy when they go home. If it's doing the more, that's the problem.
I think him being on TV, which he says he's gonna be through March, is not the best television.
Well, Tony's doing his best of Impact, I guess, right?
Right. Garrett Kidney has the clips lined up, ready to go. Very excited.
I got one last question. I know Jeremy, we always ask one final question. Jeremy will ask you. I know you mentioned once again, this is also very relatable for myself. Like I really like that you like what you're doing in the space for like wrestling and like the way that you're not trying to be like a journalist who's breaking news. You're watching what you like, you're reporting what you like, you're trying to put out positivity, and you're not like, you're not trying to this isn't about clout. And I like that a lot. I like that mindset a lot. What are your like, do you have any like other goals like in wrestling media? Like, or would you say like what you're doing right now is kind of perfect for you? Cause like you got shows on platforms you like, you got, your audience, you get to do what you want to do, and you aren't forced to really watch or report on anything you don't want to.
Yeah, I will say I am extremely lucky and blessed to have the career that I have outside of wrestling. It's allowed me to provide my kids a life that I didn't have, which is fantastic. I don't know if I want to do more in wrestling. I tend to ruin the things that I love by making it a job. Yeah. This has been a habitual problem of mine where I'll get hyper focused in and hyper obsessed over something that I really love, and then I end up hating it because it's become such a tormented job for me. So I don't want that to ever happen with wrestling. I did that with technology. Now I'm like a caveman. I don't want any technology. I don't want a phone. I don't answer my phone. I sometimes don't even go. I leave the house without one. I want to be disconnected. So I don't want to ruin wrestling. But if a great opportunity comes, I have a very unique job. Jeremy knows a little bit about it. What I do here in New York, I work with a lot of nightlife and hospitality, and I have a very unique positioning as someone that gets it, and I'm able to fix problems, like fix, not so much PR, but I'm more of like a one-man shop for a lot of this stuff. And I built a lot of good connections and great relationships, and it also allows me to have access to things that I'm able to report in wrestling because I meet a lot of very unique people. So I don't ever want to change it. But if an opportunity came, and someone's throwing a bag of money at me, if Tony's like, hey, Andrew, or whoever at WWE that's running it now.
Nick Khan.
If Nick is like, I had a great conversation about Nick. Nick's family left Iran the same time my family left. And we had a great conversation about escaping the hellhole it was after the revolution. My family left. So, maybe it tickled him a little bit, and he'd like to, talk about that. And I'm also not, I can't do the corporate life anymore. Like, I have tremendous flexibility. If somebody wants to hire me to maybe work 2 to 3 days a week and pay me a ton of money, I'll do it. But outside of that, there's no way.
That is the life. Yeah,
I like that.
Pay me a bunch of money to work 2 to 3 days a week.
Dude, I'm not driving to Connecticut and working till 9 o'clock at night. I'm not, I don't want to fly to TVs. A lot of our friends do it, Will, a friend of ours, he got that dream job and he loves it, and this is something that he worked hard at and he is cut out for that. He's made that way to be able to do that. Not my thing. I like to pop in and out of things. So if I could do anything in wrestling, I would consult, not booking. I'm not going to sit there and book your TV, but I'll consult with your, presentation and how to grow digitally or grow, attendance wise and things like that. That's really where my strength is with the marketing and the PR and those kind of aspects. It's not so much sitting there and booking a TV show, which, it's fun until you do it.
Right.
Zarian, last one that we ask
Yes,
everybody, the coolest thing in your room.
In this room? Oh,
This
man.
room? Any room?
You guys want to see my geeky stamp collection?
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I got a lot of knickknacks here. Let me see. The coolest thing in my room.
You do have a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah,
I can't tell what half of it is.
It's like it's all AI. It's nondescript. It just when you zoom in, it blurs. You know what? I'll show you this. Okay. So Rich drew this for me
Look at that.
for my 30th birthday, and on the back he wrote, "Hey man, have yourself a big sexy birthday. Love, Rich."
I love that.
This is my 30th birthday.
That's
So I always
amazing.
thought that this was cool. I got a lot of cool knickknacks.
I
have
love
all my
that.
comic books. I have an award from the Follicular Unit Extraction Conference, a hair transplant conference.
What?
I got like an award for being part of like faculty in the industry, which is like a bizarre thing. I'm in the hair business too. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't. I mean, it makes sense. You got some great hair. I actually going to need some help soon. I'm starting to lose my hair.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, Finasteride, go on Propecia. It's changed my life. It saved my hair.
Okay. I'm going to need you to DM me exactly what you just said.
Yeah, I'll
Okay, thank
DM
you.
me whatever you need. I'll help you. You know what? I'll tell you what the coolest thing in my office is. Here we go. I got a painting of myself that Damian Demento painted live on his stream, and he brought it to my house, and we did an angle. I don't know if you've ever seen this, where he beat me up.
Okay.
Does
That's
he
awesome.
work stiff?
Really stiff, dude. He knocked me open hand. It was just the wind. The wind knocked me. It was unbelievable. I would say that Damian Demento's painting of me that I stare at is probably one of the coolest things I have in here.
All right, take a picture of that.
You want me to? You know what? You know what? I'll take a picture and I'll show it to you right now on the air.
Okay.
Because it's on my wall here. Hold on. Let's see if I can.
Love to see this.
All right. Let's see.
That's awesome.
There you go. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very
Coolest
cool.
thing in this office.
It's like an album cover. That
did.
could be an album cover for you, Zarian.
I also have like all these coins I found in my wall. I was renovating my attic and we broke one of the walls down and like just like a handful of coins fell. And is this a Morgan? I think it is a Morgan from 1795. I found this in my wall.
Very cool. What do you
Somebody
have?
hid it.
Is it in a case? Is that what you?
I put it in a case. But I found like it was like a handful of coins. Just somebody hid, whoever the first owner was, I guess, in 1901 that bought this house. They probably hid it and never remembered about where it was. They died and that was it. Now I inherited. And Madonna used to live here. That's another cool thing. Madonna used to live in my house.
Okay, was Rodman over there at that time?
Dennis was not. No, this is pre Madonna. Madonna's manager, this woman named Camille Barbone, used to rent my house. This is mid 70s maybe, before Madonna was Madonna. And she had like 80 musicians living in this house. It was a hellhole. And Madonna was one of the musicians that lived in this house.
Oh, I can't imagine the stories those walls could tell.
Oh, I will tell you off the air a heinous story about when I'll tell you off the air that I was told about this house. So I'll leave that's my scoop to Jeremy. You want to go to TMZ with it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Zarian, let everybody know where they can find you. I appreciate you joining us tonight.
Dude, this was a blast. I'll do it anytime. Andrew Zarian on Twitter. That's where I live. You could catch me on Wrestling Observer Live every Sunday. Mattman Podcast every Friday. In the Weeds. 3 times a week, usually, twice a week. Whenever I have a minute before I got to run to my train, I'll pop in and say hello. And we're live, pal, with Garrett Gonzalez on Tuesdays on Observer.
My favorite is when you pop on In the Weeds, and sometimes we do the Zarian Zone with a conspiracy theory, and you got to go in like 5 minutes, and then other times you just stick around for like half an hour, and we. Just,
I hope I don't like derail your show when I call in.
Zarian, you watch our show. It's never on the rails. Like we were talking about the NWA show doing Jack and Coke and PEDs and stuff on Monday. Like our show does not get on the rails.
Don't knock
to be derailed.
I want to show you. I got mine here. All right. I got my TRT right there. Changed my life.
No, our show can't be derailed because again, that implies that it's ever on the rails. So
yeah,
everyone follow, support Zarian. You will see him on whether this channel or Overbooked on In the Weeds. He's always popping on everything. All the links are below. Thank you so much, Andrew Zarian.
Dude, anytime you guys want me. I absolutely love you guys. I'm personally a fan of Fightful, even though I'm an observer. I like to say that I'm a part-time Fightful now with you guys. I'm a Fightful Overbooked occasionally.
Yeah,
it just you guys are doing great stuff, and Sean is the best in the business, really.
He is. I mean, I put him over enough. I don't need to put him over anymore. Forget that guy. Who's he ever beaten? Andrew Zarian, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Thank you, everybody. Guys, we'll be right back here on the Spotlight. We're back. Big thank you to Andrew Zarian. Very kind with his time. About an hour with the great Andrew Zarian. Go check him out. Go follow him on social media if you want to do that. He's not going to engage with you unless you're kind and positive and have nice things to say. Don't be a dick. The lesson for life, everyone. Go check out Mattman Podcast. Whenever they do it, I feel like it changes every week. A lot of times he's against us, against In the Weeds. As he pops in on our show, then goes and does his own show, then comes back on our show. One of these days, Joel and I are going to hack his stream, show up on Mattman one day. Get that going. Big thank you to Andrew Zarian. Thank you to everybody in the chat today. Thank you if you left thumbs up on this video. If you were just leaving a kind message, thank you for the super chats. We appreciate it all. Go check out all the stuff we have on the website, youtube.com/Fightful. Check out my interview I did with Titus O'Neil. That was a lot of fun. Spoke to Titus about 20 minutes earlier. It was last week. It just went up this week. But yeah, spoke to Titus about 20 minutes. He's a really great guy. Appreciate Johnsonville and Titus O'Neil for doing that. Go check out that interview. Go check out FightfulOverbook.com. We got In the Weeds every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern. Coexisting with Rob and Maggie Fridays, 3 p.m. Eastern. Tag Talk. New episode of Tag Talk went up this week. New Japan Bread Club, new episode went up. Indeed with Mike and Reg went up this week. A lot of new stuff on Fightful Overbooked this week. Go check it out. Go support all the great contributors we got over there at Fightful Overbooked. Go to Fightful.com for all your news. Go to Fightful Select for all the breaking news before it happens. All the scoops. $5 a month or $54 for a year. Appreciate everybody. Everyone have a great Thursday. Everyone have a great weekend. Enjoy the wrestling this weekend. Talk to y'all next week.